college, a high school? A lot of misinformation out here about it. So let's just find out.
Well, Bishop Sycamore is a program that is all about helping young men play good football and getting to college. And that's the bottom line on what we're trying to do and what we try to achieve. And the history of it goes back, Director Peterson, from another program, Director Peterson said, hey, this other program's closing down. I have a lot of fathers and dads who want their sons to play good football, a versatile as well as a flexible educational platform, and give them an opportunity to play good football. And if they're just hanging around the streets or just other life situations have come around where they couldn't figure out a way to get on a football team or because of the way schools are and rules are, we want to provide that opportunity for them.
Excellent. And so it is a high school, in fact.
So we have two parts of our program. We have an actual high school program that participates in high school football, and then we also have other guys that are part of, I guess, what they're traditionally calling post-grad now, prep. They have so many different names for it, but those guys that wouldn't be eligible to play on a high school program, so we have that for that too.
Okay, and then this program's been around for 2 years?
So the program actually has been around since 2018 was 2019 was the first year of Bishop Sycamore, so 19, 20, 21. So this will be our third year.
Okay. And just, there's a lot going on with this program at this moment, a lot of national spotlight. So one thing I do want to take it to is, one of the big things that kind of came up is, scheduling. You guys aren't a part of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Is that something that you guys are seeking, or is that something that you just rather stay separate?
Hopefully one day, you talk to OSHA, they do a great job at what they do, and it's just what they do, and it's just some of the things that go on there aren't conducive for the type of students that we deal with. So as of now, maybe in the future, if we can figure something out, that would be great. But right now, we're happy where we're at. We're moving forward. I mean, we're always looking at the positives. We got to where we wanted to be, and and we fought hard. We just didn't put the product on the field that we should have, and that goes into coaching and different things like that. So we want to just focus on that, focus on the positives there, and then move forward.
No doubt about it, and just concerning this season here, a couple things, obviously one of the big things that people are asking is, how were you able to play 2 games in 3 days, and what was the thought behind that, and how'd that come about?
Like I said, we have 2 sets of kids on our team. So we have kids that didn't touch the field in IMG, but did touch the field in Still Rocks, and then we had other young men who played a little bit of both. But that's, to me, and the thought process behind it, that's no different from, when I was a sophomore and I only got to play a quarter or 2 of varsity on Friday night, and then on Saturday I played a whole game of JV. So to us, we didn't look at it any differently. And more importantly, the thing that we keep pushing and expressing over and over is that we have to make sure that some of these guys that we have get some type of film. We have to make sure they have film. We have to make sure it gets out. We have to get them exposure, and we have to get them on the field. And so that was a thought process. Playing on a Sunday, that Friday was no different than our normal Wednesday to us. And so since we had a lot of guys travel, we made sure they got a series or a quarter, worked on some things that we need to work on, and then we made sure that we got those other guys out there that needed to get some film and needed to get some game time. So that was the thought process behind it. We have two sets of guys on our teams, and some guys can play in all the games, some guys can't. So we always want to make sure that we're presenting an opportunity for these young men to get their film out there.
Absolutely. And so did you have a lot of kids cross over from Friday to Sunday, or was it just a few?
Yeah, we had kids that crossed over. So there were kids like that went in the first series, couple series, and, worked out some kinks and some bugs that we seem to work out. And we need to get better at that because obviously it didn't help us on Sunday. But again, like I said, what we want to do is focus on making sure these other guys that don't get a lot of film, don't get play time for whatever reasons that they have, we get them on the field and play. So we had about 15 guys that didn't get to play against Archbishop Hoban. We had about 16 guys that didn't play Archbishop Hoban. Those guys played on Friday. We got some film for them and some clips for them to send out. And again, a great event. they got some exposure. They had a good time, and so we're happy about that.
Yeah, that's good. And obviously, a lot of criticism came, via the ESPN commentators during the game, and a lot of them felt like they were duped. What do you say to that?
Well, here's the thing. I tend to shy away from comments that are just made at the time, and I would feel the same way. I mean, if we're saying we have 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever D1 players, guys that clearly over the summer, whether they're at camps, getting offers, and people have seen these athletes, if ESPN thinks they were disappointed, then imagine how we feel and the students feel. They're disappointed too because we didn't play our best football. We didn't coach our best. And so all the things that have been said are rightly deserved when you put a product out there that goes, 68-0. And that's just the bottom line. But it's not because of a lack of talent. It was from a lack of us producing, and that comes from the top down. That comes from the coach all the way down. So
yeah, and with that, they made a lot of accusations. One, they said the one accusation was, they tried to verify kids on your team with D1 offers, and they weren't there. But in fact, you do have kids on your team with Division I offers, correct?
Yeah, but at the same time, but at the same time, we don't want to. ESPN has to save themselves because we lost, so we brought this on ourselves, right? Because if the game was competitive or we would have won, then I guess this conversation wouldn't have happened. But because we lost, that's what happened. So I just had a conversation with somebody else, and they were asking about. They were basically saying, they were like, well, I know such and such, such and such, such and such all have D1 offers, and he was like, what do people think is the average number of D1 offers on a high school team? I said, I don't know what they think. I was like, but if you had to ask me, I would say the average is probably 0 to 1. There's not that many D1 players on the team. There's just not. So the fact that we have 10, 12 and got beat like that is embarrassing, A. But B, it doesn't mean that I don't think ESPN, I just think it's communication. I'm not really sure why they said one way or another, but the guys that have D1 offers, I mean, they could just look up. Juwan Roney has Arizona State. I mean, you can just look it up. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, and obviously you were coaching in the game, so, obviously a lot of that stuff, you could say is unfair because you're not there to defend yourself. That's why we hear it now. And so the other thing was, just back to the part where, like I said, just scheduling, so obviously you're not a part of Ohio High School Athletic Association. You play against these top teams. How do you come together with your schedule and put your schedule together? Because it looks like you guys got some top teams for the rest of the way out.
Correct. So that's the other half of it. The other half of it is this. Prep Gridiron Logistics is a company, a business that puts together big-time matchups. So they put all the big-time matchups together, and they have a whole bunch of clients. So they came to us and said, hey, IMG wants to play you at Canton on ESPN. So to give a little history of that, we played IMG last year. So it wasn't the fact that we played IMG, we played them last year. I mean, but nobody cared because it wasn't on ESPN. So we were going to play IMG one way or another, but this gave us the opportunity to play in the Canton Hall of Fame. And that was the difference. So Prep Gridiron Logistics called us. They said, hey, you guys want to play them on ESPN at Canton? And it's the opportunity, the chance. So as an organization, we made a decision that this would be best. I heard somebody say to me, he said, I can't be mad at you for taking the opportunity to play on ESPN.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, who wouldn't want to play on, prime network like that? But I think the big part was just, where people, I guess the smoke in the room is, ESPN or the announcers feel like they were lied to about that, and if they were here now, is that game not? You said that game was set up by the logistic company, correct?
Correct. Prep Gridiron Logistics set it up, correct.
Okay, so then the fact that you guys lying to ESPN, you would say that's false.
Of course. I mean, but I guess ESPN, and I want to make sure I have the quote right. ESPN said that we told them we had multiple D1 players, correct?
Yep.
All right. What does multiple mean to you?
More than one.
All right. So if I gave you 8 D1 players, that would mean that I was telling the truth, correct?
I would say yes.
All right. So Atiba Fitz, Armand Scott, Jeremy Naborn, Shamar Price, Josh Lorick, Adrian Brown, DeJuan Roney, Jordell Smith. That's 8. They all have D1 offers. So I don't think ESPN was saying it, and this is my perspective, but I don't know because I haven't spoken to ESPN yet. I don't think ESPN was saying we've been duped because we didn't actually have D1 players. I think he was saying they just got blanketed 68-0. How could you have 8 D1 players and end up getting beat like that? That's how I took it. And he's right. So that's how I took it.
And with the whole, with Bishop Sycamore, you guys are located in Columbus.
Correct.
So, with y'all being in Columbus, Ohio, there's a slew of talent down there, a lot of things going on. Another thing that, someone asked right before was, is there, are the kids being told the truth about what's happening? And that's the thing is it's a lot of the questions, honestly, just coming towards character, about the program and saying that, they may be lying about certain things about, what's available for kids, So what kind of opportunities are at this school for kids that, is this school for, let me just say this, is this school for kids that's in the class of 2025, 2024 high school? Can these kids attend Bishop Sycamore?
They can attend Bishop Sycamore, but just like I'll tell everybody else, our program isn't for everybody. But if you talk to the 8 guys that I just gave you that all have Division I offers and ask them, why would they stay? They don't have to. They have Division I offers already. They could just leave. But then some other guys look at it and say, hey, this isn't for me. We're not a traditional school. So we're not your traditional, come into school, sit down, Mrs. Smith is at the chalkboard pointing, and this is what you need to learn. We're not that. We're a school that provides opportunity for you to correct whatever issues you may have. So that could be a film issue. That could be a grades issue. That could just be a personality issue. There's things that we spend time doing. You could be in a situation where you're sitting down, and I'm not going to say the student's name, but we have a student, and he lives with me. He's my favorite story. So he was in foster care from 8 years old to, I think he was in foster care from 8 years old to 12. I think he was in foster care from 8 years old to 12. And he was playing at a school. He ended up getting an offer from some MAC schools. COVID happened. But while COVID happened, he couldn't stay where he was staying. So then he was homeless. So a guy told him, he said, hey, I know these guys over at Bishop Sycamore. You should talk to them. They can help get you to camps and you can help come play some football, And so he ended up doing that. And now his offers are back on the table. And so it provided that opportunity. So if you talk to him about it and ask him what he thought about Bishop Sycamore, he would say the opposite, right? Because he would say, I had no offers. I was homeless. I got more offers back and I'm eating. And I have a place to stay. And that's what we provide. So sometimes I think it's a message that you put along on time. If you have a problem with Roy Johnson, or if you have a problem with the program, that's fine. But just make sure you come after Roy Johnson. Don't come after a kid, because you might be taking something away that you don't understand, which is why usually we don't say anything. We let the media have its day and just talk. But now we make more of an effort to come out and address these issues. We've had coaches, players, parents, texting, sending support. A couple of the teams that we play say, hey, we know the things that you do. We know the things that the kids that you help. We know what you provide. And guess what? We're supporting you. We see the vision. We're still there. We had letters of recommendations from a few of the teams that we've played, a few of the teams that we're going to play, and they sent their recommendations over and say, hey, good luck. You know what I mean? Got to play Johnson Central next week. Make sure you represent. Make sure you turn around and remember when you do this. And so for us, the thing is to make sure we answer questions, make sure people understand, how it works. Because it's not going to be like your traditional school, because we're not your traditional school. And we have students and players and athletes that don't have traditional problems. And I keep preaching that. And so what we're here to do is defend these young men. We're here to defend the program. What I'm here is to make sure that I give that information so they understand what's going on, how it's going on, and all those things, and answer those questions. Because like I said, you're going to have some people that don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they have a problem with
it. Understood that point, and I guess my question is this. Next question is, what's your relationship like with some of the coaches in the Columbus area? Are those coaches looking to give you games in the future, or is there cohesiveness, or what's going on in that area?
So the coaches that I have relationships with understand, because most of the coaches that I have relationships deal with these issues because they're hands-on with the young men. So if they're hands-on with young men, they deal with that. Some of the players that I have from Columbus came referred by coaches. Like, hey, I had a coach from up north, 2 or 3 coaches called. Hey, we got a kid that needs help. Hey, we have a kid here. One of the kids that we were recommended, the coach had called for him, and he ended up getting killed a couple weeks ago. And I had to call this coach and apologize. I was like, I feel terrible. He's like, no, you shouldn't, because you did, and we did everything to get him down to Bishop Sycamore to try to prevent the situation, and he ended up being killed. So you have those situations that are there. So coaches that deal with this, that are hands-on with their players, understand that. And I mean, even just looking through some of the listeners, I know some of the coaches that are there that understand that, because you're dealing with kids that are saying, hey, I don't have the support at home. I don't have that mom and dad at home to support me. I don't have that grandfather to support me. So I'm kind of doing this on my own. And as I'm doing this on my own, I just need somewhere to go. And a lot of times these schools and places don't have these resources. And if they don't have these resources, and because of the rules of the different situations that they have, they need a place like Bishop Sycamore. And in fact, one of the players that had called me, he had said, he said, I need a school to go to. And I tried to give him every other school. I said, man, we're kind of full. We can't do this. We don't have situations. Like, I'm calling around. I have nowhere to go. And if I don't end up playing with a football program, I'm just going to end up being homeless and running the streets. So what do you say to that? So what do you say? He's on our team right now. And he played on Friday. He got a little bit of film. And hopefully he's going to be going to this Division III school. So what do you say to a person like that needs help? A lot of times I try to, because of all the blogs and all the people, I try to just stay humble. But sometimes some of me wants to say, if you feel so bad for these kids, why don't you find out one of their names and let them live with you and write a check? Okay. But you won't do that, because you just want to sit and poke and prod and be whatever it is that you want to be. But there's kids that need help all over. And there's no reason in the United States that we shouldn't be able to help each other out and figure this out. But I tell them, stop talking to me. Talk to the kids that are currently in the program. Call a Jeremy Naple. Call a Andrew Price. Call them. Ask them. Because right now it's just all opinion, which is why it's important to come out, and I would encourage anybody, make sure you stand up for your narrative. Say your side of the story so people understand, and that's what makes America beautiful. That's why I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud because if this was a communist country, I wouldn't be able to say that. The media is controlled. But here I can say that. So I want to just be sure that they understand, people understand what we do, how we do it, but more importantly, why we do it. Because these are kids in our own community that we're helping. Yeah, they're from all over the place, but they're still kids in our community. They're still young men who want opportunity. So, we love a DeJuan Roman, who, him and his dad, great situation, has Arizona State. And you know what he said? I'm going to send my kid out there so he can help you guys out. And hopefully, because Arizona State is watching him, some other kids can then get exposure to and see them. Armand Scott, plenty of offers. He doesn't have to play with us, but he does. And he's like, guess what? Because I got some friends that are on this team that need the exposure. I know if they're watching me, they're also watching them. And now the name Bishop Sycamore is out there. So when we send film out now, send a tag out to a coach, good or bad, the name registers because they've heard it. And so we're just going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep making sure we do the basic things that, Maslow says we need to do. Home and shelter, food, and a whole lot of love. We're going to coach them up. We're going to give them a whole lot of love. And we want to put something on the field that people are proud of. We didn't do that this week. And when you don't do that, this is what you do.
I can understand that, Coach, from being a former head coach 1 year, and understanding some of those things there too. Now with Bishop Sycamore, I just want to hit a few more topics. Kids coming to school, what do they live at? Do they live on campus? What's the living situation for kids that decide to go to Bishop Sycamore?
So we have 2 types of kids that we have kids that still live at home and commute, and those are mostly the local kids. And then we provide apartments for the other kids, and it's like a big sleepover. So And some of the, and also some little coaches, obviously, because I have a few that live with me. So, it's a big sleepover, and we have a good time, and we're enjoying it. And like I said, one of the things that we will do this week, we will make sure that we put a better product on the field.
And Coach, on top of that, you have a lot of naysayers, just in general, like I said, you kind of addressed it a little bit. You got a lot of people, like that's pretty harsh on you guys right now. Like I said, about, literally, you got the ESPN thing going that's, it's less than 24 hours ago, where everyone's still kind of fired up, shooting shots at the program,
Absolutely.
I guess, what do you say to everybody else, that is attacking this program that may not know nothing about it, and are they right in any areas?
So there's three answers to it, and we focus on this all the time. Number one, when you put that type of product on the field, you're going to get those type of comments. So that should light a fire under everybody's rear end from the top all the way down, because we lost 68-0 with however many Division I athletes that we have. So that's number one. So when that happens, losing like that in that fashion on national television is going to do that. Number two, the constructive criticism is needed and accepted. Just like I said, sometimes you take it personal when you can't, but you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have did this, you should have did that. That constructive criticism that we had there is good. During halftime, I called the coach. During the rain delay, I called the coach, a well-respected coach. And I said, man, what am I doing wrong? And he said, everything, man. It's this here, that here. And, and the things that he was telling me. So constructive criticism is there. At one point in the game, the defensive coordinator had to grab me and say, I'm doing this and doing that. So that part of it I can take. There's safety in the council of men. So any constructive criticism, I'm going to take. Then there's the third side of it. There's what has been dubbed as hate. The messages that players get, and they come show me the messages that they get, hurts me more than the other stuff, obviously. But just like I said, the 68-0 should put a fire under our rear end, all the uninformed, disrespectful comments that are made to players, coaches on the teams, wives, and stuff like that should be the napalm on that fire. So I want to make it very, very, very clear that they will, and I hate to say it because it sounds like Tim Tebow, they will never see a more organized, disciplined, hardworking team than Bishop Sycamore. And I told all the young men, I said, when you turn it all around, they're going to have to pay their dues, and they're going to have to respect that. So right now, the thing that you need to be focused on is, how can I be a better person? How can I be a better teammate? And how can I better represent myself in this organization? And if we do all that and we come together, then there'll be a lot of apologies. And that's what we want. And so that's what we're going to push for. We're not going to let the naysayers and the negativity deplete our energy, because the negativity and the naysayers will happen when you lose 68-0.
Right.
So that part of it you have to accept, and that's from the top down. So what we're going to do is be a strong organization. We're going to be a strong group of young men. We're going to represent ourselves better. We're going to hold our head high, hold our shoulders high. And to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of organizations that feel that way. I bet you Duncanville feels that way. Like, hey, we just got beat by Modern Day. We got to get up and turn around and do what we have to do, and so on and so forth. And everybody else that got blown out this week. And I told them there is no difference. We just got blown out on national television. And that happens. And when that happens, it's how you recover. It's not getting knocked down. It's not getting punched in the face. It's how you respond. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a pause. We're going to get ourselves together. We're going to come up with some ideas and strategies. We're going to implement those ideas and strategies. And then we're going to fight back. We're going to bounce back. And, hopefully everybody will get to see that opportunity on Friday when we go down and play Johnson Central. And like I said, represent ourselves better.
So are you looking to be the Ohio version of IMG? Is that what the goal is? With this program, the way you guys building it, like I said, you're able to get, you're not a part of the high school association, so you're able to recruit these players, able to get, referral from players from different states and things like that. Is that what the whole goal is, and this is just the beginning stages of it, or are you guys looking to take this thing a different direction?
So I just did an interview a couple weeks ago, and somebody asked me, said, do you want to be the next IMG? And here's the reality of it. The discipline, the athletes, the way they play football. Did you see the way they run the ball? The way they run the ball, the way that they're coached, Coach Johnson and the rest of the guys over there, Coach Logan, all them. I mean, just from the top down, the way the organization was run, it was such a good experience. Now we want to talk about the positives of it. It was like watching a production to a movie. They had people running up and down from the camera rooms all the way down. They had people on the field. I got to peek into their locker room, and they had this spread of Gatorade bars and apples and bananas and fruit and all this stuff that you eat before a game and all this other stuff. And I'm looking at us, and I'm like, man, we have 2 boxes of bananas from Kroger. So I look at that to say, do we want to be IMG? Well, of course. You want to be able to have those resources and be able to watch this production come out, man. It was amazing to watch, just to see all the extra coaches that they had to field punts and catch punts from the punters and things like we don't have. We have to do that with each other. So one day to be like that would be great. But I also think we want to be a little bit different, because I don't exactly know the operations side or the education side of IMG. So we provide a little bit different things. I think we provide a little bit more counseling, therapy for the students, because we deal with a little bit different issues than I think they're dealing with. I don't know that to say, but I think ours is a little bit different. So, for us, to be IMG as far as what they produce on the field, absolutely. To be what they are off the field, I'm not really sure, but I'm sure they do provide those things. So to be the next IMG, I'm not really sure that's what we're trying to be. I think we're trying to be our own thing. If I look at an organization or a program that I admire on the field, is definitely, without a doubt, IMG. Off the field and what they do for players and how they interact with their coaches, I'm looking more towards a St. Francis Academy or St. Thomas More, where it's a little bit different. They play good football, but it's a little bit different. I hope that answers the question, because it's kind of hard for me to answer. So
I get you. I understand that. And my next thing was just going to ask, as you guys go forward, let's talk a little bit of football. Obviously, everybody in the nation that was watching saw the product in the field. Ran out of quarterbacks. Are you going to have a quarterback going forward?
Absolutely. So we're gonna have a quarterback. We ran into that tough issue. Week 1 we had a Jalen Knight, a great quarterback out of Maryland. There's very few times that players have brought me to tears, but I had 2 players do it. One, his name is Gerardo out of New York, and the other one was Jalen Knight. And he broke his leg in the holding game, and he ended up having to have surgery. And I forgot what he's ranked, but he's ranked pretty high as a quarterback. And so we have that. And obviously, we have our big dog, Chill Harris. He got a little nicked up, but we're confident that he's going to come back. And then, we have other athletes that have played quarterback, so we're okay at the quarterback position. We have Jonathan Mambila. He's from Canada. He's actually from Ways of Congo, and then went to Canada, and he's here. He plays quarterback. He was the one that came in to the end of the game. He did a great job by, at the last minute coming in there and throwing the ball around and whipping it around. And so, we're real confident with him. And then, what we do more than anything else, and that's play defense and play special teams. So going into these next couple of weeks, we have the weapons on offense, and that's fine. And we're going to go back to those weapons. We have to do a better job of getting those athletes that I mentioned, getting the ball in their hand. You know what I mean? So, when you have a guy like Atiba, or you have a guy like Armand Scott, or these guys, or Jeremy Naborn, you cannot be in a situation where you're not putting the ball in their hands. And I don't care how we do it, how we figure it out. We need to do that. We have another speedster, Kyle Miller. He just received a call from a big-time program, and just because of his speed. And it's like, we need to figure out ways to get them the ball. And that, again, comes down to coaching, man. And we need to be better at that. And that's where our goal is to be better every day. And we're going to keep pushing that and keep pushing as hard as we can.
Okay, Coach, and at this point, I'm going to take a few questions just from a few people, just to get some perspective, things that I may have not asked. So at this time, I'll take 3 or 4 questions. So anybody that's got a request, send me a request if you got a question for Coach. And I think I got one right now. So we'll start with the first question here.
Hey, can you hear me?
Indeed.
Hey, this is a little bit of a silly question, but I didn't catch your name in the beginning, Coach. Who are we speaking with right now?
And was that all you're asking, Bailey? You had another question?
In a second, but I didn't hear the answer to that one.
Oh, Roy Johnson.
Roy Johnson. All right, perfect. How many players played in both Friday and Sunday's game?
15, 12. I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's a good question. That's a good question, though. So we had our first quarter series in, and our first quarter series went in. That was predominantly our starters, and then we had a bunch of the backups come in. So all the backup guys that didn't get too much play time in the week before. So I'm assuming 12 to 15.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks, Bailey.
Thank you, Bailey.
All right, next question. It'll come from Coach Allen. What's going on?
So my question is, how are those players eligible for NCAA if they're not taking courses?
Thank you.
Because your NCAA eligibility comes from the courses that they've taken in the past. So a lot of these guys meet the NCAA requirements, and it's a matter of what they can retake, what do they need to retake. Some of them are SATs or ACTs. So it just depends. To answer that question further, our enrollment through our program for them starts September 1st. So tomorrow, a lot of these guys are going to have to figure out what they're doing, how they're doing here. Second answer to that question, we do a lot of life skills and stuff that we provide through our school that is coursework through our school. It's not traditional. So it's not, I'm sitting down in a classroom, as I said before, and Mr. or Mrs. Smith is teaching me Pythagorean's theorem. A lot of it is life skills. A lot of it is business. We talk to them a lot about business. We work with all our players and we help them do their own marketing. So now that they can get paid in their own likeness, every player on our team is sat down with a business person and created a logo for themselves and a business market. We teach them about opening up LLCs. We teach them about EIN numbers. We teach them about working through the IRS. We teach them about nonprofits, how to get a nonprofit. So a lot of them is like, hey, you guys want to have camps and stuff when you get older? You should open up a business, but you also should open up a nonprofit. So it's not your traditional school. So to answer your question, basically, how do kids become NCAA eligible without taking classes? Well, the answer is most of them come to us towards the end of their senior year or junior year, so they have most of their courses already. Now it's a matter of finding out what additional help they need and also give them other skills that they may need now that college football is changing. So one of our kids is a big-time recruit. We have his own logo. We helped him create his own logo. He has this little, I guess, a gift you would want to call it that he has, and they actually aired that on the Flow Sports and everything else. So I guess I hope that answers your question. If not, I can go in more depth.
That summed it up pretty well. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. These are questions that we need to answer because, some people think like, how are they eligible? They're not going to school. Well, the reality of it is, and I don't want to point fingers because this gets me in trouble, but the reality of it is you have students that have to take their 10 credits in their first 6 semesters. I say this all the time because I hate when people say it's 10-7 rule. It should be called the 10-6 rule because if you don't have your 10 NCAA eligible courses in your first 6 quarters, your junior year, then you're not eligible. So we have a lot of kids that have to go back in that situation and say, hey, we got to get more transcripts from your school. We got to get a letter in. We have to send some information in to hopefully get you a waiver, explain why this didn't happen. We just had this happen to an athlete. And obviously, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but he went to another school, ended up going to a D1 program, great athlete. They just called us up last week and said, hey, he requires 10-7. I said, well, I don't know why that would be, but that wouldn't be our fault because he didn't come to us till his senior year. So they had to go back to his other school, and the other school gave him one course that wasn't NCAA certified. We have a lot of kids that go to charter schools their freshman or sophomore year. So by the time they come to us, that 10-7 rule comes in there. So we have to send letters in, get those waivers that come back. When we get those waivers come back, then we'll know, hey, we can place them in this course, that course, and this course. But for the time being, we're going to give them other activities, business courses, and things to do that they can use outside of football. Because it's the one thing that I want to say that we don't say a lot, and I hate to say it because I'm not the one to take somebody's dream. But the reality of it is, as good of the players as we have, most of them won't play in the NFL. So the NCAA eligibility shouldn't even be a question. We should be more concerned about what can they do if they don't play football. And these are skills that we try to provide them to say, hey, this is where you can go get a job. This is what Amazon is paying. This is how you open up your own business. This is how you invest in your business. This is how you build your own brand. Do go into NCAA Division I, you can get paid for your own likeness. This is how you start building that brand. You have some of these guys that have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 followers on Instagram. How do you use that and turn that into a way to gain some type of revenue stream? The revenue stream that you're going to need, guess what? To be a good father one day. The revenue stream that you're going to need to be a good husband one day. And these are some of the things that we want to teach these young men. And I encourage you or anybody else that's around Columbus that wants to come down, speak to them, talk to them, mentor them. It's like I said before, I get real irritated when people say, you know what, they're just hurting the kids. This is just about the kids. I can't believe they're doing that to the kids. Okay, well, here's your opportunity to show us how to do a better job. Come down and support it. You don't even have to, and I tell people all the time, you don't have to give me money. Come down and buy a pair of socks. Come down and buy them a pair of cleats. Come down and take them out to get something to eat. Take them to dinner. Talk to them how you became so successful. Talk to them about the mistakes that you made and pass that on. Because believe it or not, we're all in the same business, trying to make sure young men get a better future. It's just sometimes we do it different ways.
Thanks for that, Coach. Darren Jr.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, my man, D. My man. How you doing, TJ?
Hey, Mr. Mike, I appreciate you letting me on here, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing real well. It's good to hear your voice, man.
Hey, Roy, how you doing?
My man, how you doing, man? Everybody says I'm the hardest working man in this business. I said that's because they don't know you yet.
Hey, it is what it is, man. But hey, I gotta throw this out there for real. Like, I've been talking, I've been talking to Terry, I've been talking to everybody. I talked to you multiple times before, but like, I'm in the recruiting business and stuff like that. I don't like that. A lot of these offers and stuff I see kids are posting, like it's not. Right. It's not real, you feel me? Because I went around the country basically this summer, just like you guys did. But, coaches come up to me and ask me about Bishop Sycamore. Like, they never hear good things about you guys. And then they bring up guys that have offers from, Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama. And such as your boy, what's his name? Pahokie's finest, Adrian Brown.
Yes, sir.
He said he had an offer from Tennessee, Nebraska, Minnesota. Right. Michigan recently, they said they offered, but I personally went out on a limb and I asked some coaches because Joe Stab, I actually played for him in college, and Alex Golish, he resides from Dublin.
Absolutely.
And, they all said that they never offered. They don't even know who the young men are. They try to look them up on social media. They got them blocked and they never know the kids. So can you do a little bit of explaining, I guess you could say?
Absolutely. So number one, I'm not really sure when we recruit a kid or talk to a young man, we go by whatever they tell us, right? So the young man says, hey, I have these offers, that offers. We go there and then we say, hey, what schools you want to go to? And then we push. So in the one young man that you're talking about, I was under the impression just from talking to coaches and everything else, I think he was offered from the previous staff. I don't really know. But what I do know is that he does have offers. And those from coaches that I've spoken to myself. I don't know what coaches verify or don't verify. I don't know. But what I will tell you is, one, we'll find out who had offers and who didn't have offers when we have signing day in December. So I guess time will tell if he had the offers or not.
But okay, this leads to my second question.
Hold on. Let me finish answering that. Number two, we do have to take accountability for what is going on.
Facts.
So that right there is what we need to address. And so, from now on, I think with the staff and the meetings that we have, players that get offers, we're going to do our best to verify it from now on, because apparently this question's come up. We're going to do our best to verify it from now on. But I can't really verify or not verify if somebody has an offer. Just like you can't really verify that or not unless a coach decides to, I guess, go against tradition and tell you. But
well, if you're the head coach, they're going to come to you or the athletic director.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Then, so that's one of the things that I'm saying right now. We're not going to push that out anymore as far as who has offers and who doesn't. We'll find that out in December, and we got to take accountability for it too. And that's getting on these players and say, hey, you have to be sure. Because let's talk recruiting now, and you know this better than me. How many times has a coach said to a player, man, we really want you to come play for us?
Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah, and the kid thinks that I have an offer. Or more importantly, how many times does a kid get an offer and it's not, which I'm still confused on what this means, it's not a committable offer?
Well, that usually only happens at the Power 5 level. They want to see you in person at a camp or, come to your game or watch you at school and work out and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and guess what? I understand, I guess. I still just don't understand it. So if I tell you, if I tell you, hey, man, here's an offer for you to come to my house, but I want to meet you down the street first to make sure you look a certain way. So I don't. You either offer me to come to your house or you don't. So but guess what? I don't make the rules of college football. But to get back to what you're saying is, we have to do a better job of accountability. We need to do a better job of talking to our young men, and we need to do a better job of explaining to them about social media. It's a part of a way of life. It's a part of a way of life for them. So anytime something happens or a coach calls up or I get a coach call and say, hey, we're really interested in we're really interested in such and such on the team. We want him to get down here for a game, man. We love for him to play for the program. And they're saying all this, and then I was like, they jump off the phone. He offered me, and I'm like, well, he said he wants you to come to a game. He really wants you to play for the program. And he likes you.
All right, hey, let me end out on this one real quick.
Yes,
so
sir.
let's speak on your boys, such as your Jeremiah or your Adrian Brown, and that Jalen Knight. You said he's super high ranked. I looked him up a few months ago. He didn't even have no stars, no offers, or anything like that. Said he's a 2021 recruit, but he must have reclassified twice or something like that. But that's off subject. I want to know, why are these kids getting offers or they're posting offers, but then you don't even see them going and they're not even going and visiting these schools. You know what I'm saying? That period opened up.
So I guess this goes back. So that specific person that you mentioned, Jalen Knight, heck of a quarterback. I want you to take your time. When I said he was highly ranked, I was referring to the QB hit list. So go on QB hit list and look at Jalen Knight and see what he's ranked in the state of Ohio. So that's what I meant by he's highly ranked, because he's ranked by QB hit list. So that'll give time for the members and everybody else to look him up and see where he's ranked as a quarterback. Number two, since we're using him as an example, he did. So he went and visited Maryland, Morgan State when he could. So he visited a couple of schools that reached out.
So he got an offer from Maryland?
No, I don't believe he got an offer from Maryland, but I'm saying those are the schools that were in contact with him for him to come play. So remember,
I'm just saying in general about not even if you have an offer, you know what I'm saying? If you have an offer, why are you not going and visiting that school?
So the guys that we had that had offers, they did visit that school, or they didn't have an opportunity to visit that school.
What do you mean by not having an opportunity?
So we'll go back to one of the other young men that you were talking about. So I believe it was Arkansas State, I can't remember. They offered Adrian Brown, and he was supposed to go fly down there, go fly and visit them. He was going to fly into Memphis and then go down and visit. They set it up, but he couldn't do that just because of family situations. He's also supposed to take a visit out to Oregon State, but he couldn't because of certain situations. So, a lot of that has to depend on the fact that a lot of these guys are from different places. They come here, and then some of the offers that they have are far away, so they didn't get a chance to run out there and visit them. So hopefully during the season, we can do some fundraising. Hopefully you can help me out. If you're going to happen to take some of your players down to visit wherever the place may be, and there are crossovers, I can get some of my guys into your van, and you can head that way. Because, most of our resources are spent on the basic things that I said, spent on housing, food. So a lot of times some of these guys can't take a visit or can't get to where they've been recruited to. So, I got a guy that needs to get down to Florida State. They've called a couple times, so I need to get down there, and Tallahassee's far. So, what I need is the support of the community, support of guys like you that definitely know what you're doing. To have a bunch of guys going D1, come on down. Let's get this together. Let's see if we can get these kids out there.
Hey, I appreciate y'all for the time and everything, man. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Haley, you've been waiting patiently.
Yes, thank you. Hey, Coach, a question for you, and I apologize if I missed this at the very beginning. Are you guys affiliated with any local schools here in Columbus, or is there like a base you operate out of? Because, when you Google you guys, a lot of different schools and addresses come up, and a lot of them are telling me, they don't have an affiliation.
No, we don't have any affiliations with any schools that are here, that are local. Our base, we rent a space a few days a week to go over our classwork stuff, and that's in the Eastern area. So you can kind of get us there in a few days a week that we have school there. Remember, we're not a traditional school, so we don't have our young men sitting in school from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day.
Because essentially you're saying most of these players have already met their education requirements from the state?
Correct.
Okay. Now, if somebody came to you who hadn't met those requirements, I'm sorry, if somebody, say a freshman who hasn't, isn't that far along had come to you, what would you be doing? How would you make sure they'd get those credits?
We would put them through the same process and step that everybody else goes through. They would just have to be in class more. So if we had freshmen come in, we had more freshmen come in. By the time they got to their junior year, they wouldn't have the problems that most of our athletes have, which is the school that they went to didn't give them the 10-7 requirements, or they had straight D's and they need to retake courses. So we would kind of eliminate those issues as they came into our program. So you have to have the 10 credits before this, but at the end of their 6th semester, we make sure that they take care of those 10 credits in that freshman, sophomore year. So they take care of it in that freshman, sophomore year because they probably won't be playing as much. They can be in class more, and they can knock those things out. Then going into their junior year, they can focus on finishing their degree and having that done at that junior year. And then their senior year, they could take a college-level course, or they could take one course, whatever the case would be, and really focus on that senior year. So that would be the plan if somebody was a freshman, somebody who went through the whole entire program with that. But we don't have very many of those. The director's son would be one of them, and so that's why he's academically eligible and there's no issues.
Thank you.
Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yes, thanks.
All right.
Thank you there. I'll take 2 more questions here, Coach, and I know you got things going, and then we'll get this thing rolling. Got one guy that's sitting here for a while, and somebody else here. So, Bud, extend Bud.
Hey, how you doing?
Say what?
Doing well.
All right.
Who is it? Who is this?
Can I speak to Coach Terrell? Well, I think someone.
It's Coach Johnson.
Okay, there we go. Sorry. So, Coach, I just want to circle back and ask you again. So, you said all those players that you played in both games were in the first quarter of the Stowe Rocks game, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to. That is what you previously said.
So if I did say that, I want to clarify. We had guys that played in the first quarter that were there. We had some guys that continued to play, but the main guys were like our quarterback. We had another quarterback go in. Some of our receivers came out. Some of our studs that we needed for IMG, those guys came out, and we had a lap over, I think, of 15. So, for instance, we had one running back. When we counted, we had one running back that played in the first half, but he played only 8 plays. So we had that. So we had a kind of play count going on, kind of like a pitcher. We kind of know how many plays they're playing, similar to, like I said, the varsity JV situation.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if you were aware, but there's game footage on YouTube of the Stowe Rocks versus you guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's on there. And it appears to me that number 56, your center, played the majority of that game and IMG. I was just curious, how as a head coach can you justify playing that player in that kind of a dangerous position they were going against 5-star, 4-star Division I recruit D tackles play after play. Obviously, not holding the block for too long sometimes. How can you justify that decision as being safe?
Well, I justify that decision as in he's 18 years old. We asked him hey, are you good to play? Are we having a good thing? We asked him that, and then number two, what we asked him is hey, when you're coming in to make this play, we're going against this competition. for us, that game is no different than us having practice. Again, I went back to somebody else and I said, hey, listen, on a normal day, we would hit Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Most programs do. Walk through Thursday, Friday, play a game. We didn't have that because that week was extended out. So for him to play against that level of competition that he was playing against and then play IMG, we felt strong enough for him. And we discussed it with him. He's okay, like, hey, just going back there, punching a little bit against IMG is going to be a lot, dog, but we need to get you warmed up because he didn't play the week before at all.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thanks, bud. All right, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Coach F over there down at the bottom.
Hey, how you doing? This is Coach Flu.
Coach Flu, how you doing, sir?
All right. I have a question. Cause I ran into something. I found something about COF, and it said you guys was affiliated with COF, and it said something about fraudulent. Attach themselves to, and then you guys had fake addresses and things like that, and it said that Bishop Sycamore is not affiliated as a school. So how can you explain that?
So COF was an organization that I work with, but not the rest of the organization. So that I think that answers that question. And I'm not really sure what a fake address. I'm not really sure what it's referring to as a fake address.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is I want to make sure I clarify so it isn't like I'm avoiding your question. COF and that whole situation, I worked for the organization. Bishop Sycamore has nothing to do with that except for the fact that I used to work there.
What is COF, by the way? Is that a school? I'm sorry. Just want to clarify.
Yeah, COF was a school that was working out kind of similar to any other non-charter, non-tech school. It just didn't work.
Okay, I just wanted to figure out what that was. And then how do these kids train? Like, how do you do your work? They're not in no city. How do you get these guys worked out? Where do you practice and things like that?
So we're still in the young stages. So we practice at parks, open field. We'll get it in anywhere. Parking lot, you name it, we'll get it in there. Parking lot's an exaggeration. We've never had a football game in a parking lot, but we'll find a park, any field to go on, any field that, we find out when during the summer we use fields that were up north because it was closer to where they were staying. Now, we find any fields that we can, we make sure we get out there and we make sure that they get this working. We have an indoor facility that we rent every once in a while to make sure they get looked at in there too.
Okay, so does that also? So where do you guys do your weight training at?
We do a weight training at the place where we rent the indoor facility.
Okay, thank you.
Coach F, where you from?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
You said you're from Columbus too? Do you still coach now, or are you coaching now, or are you not?
No, I'm done coaching.
You do. Wait a minute. Are you totally done coaching, or can you come down and volunteer a couple hours? Give us some ideas and pointers.
No, I'm done coaching right now.
You sure, man? Because we could really use your help, man. And I see that you're on here, you're concerned. And, we need people like you that are concerned, want to know how we're doing. Maybe even if you don't have that, give my information. Shoot me some ideas. Tell me what you think can help, man. We're always about trying to be better. And like I said, and people that, would have the time to call and listen to this conversation, man, you clearly care about our community. You clearly care about our young men. And we want to do a better job. And it sounds like, the questions you ask are very viable questions. So get my phone number, man. You have any ideas, any parts or anything like that, or things that could help out the program, please, man. Reach out to me, man. We can talk. And if you've done coaching, that means you've been coaching a long time, and I could definitely use your help.
Yeah, I've coached in the city. So I'll DM you, we can go from there.
Yes, sir, man. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you for your concern for our students.
All right, and Zach Fleer.
What's up, Coach? I've been covering local sports here in Columbus for 8 years.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. You mentioned earlier, instead of talking to you, reach out to your kids. I feel like that would be a lot easier if you guys had like a roster posted online, any type of information about who plays for you, where they're from. As a guy in the media, it's extremely difficult to cover kids, identify kids if there's no information about them available. My second point, you can answer both of these. The second point is, if you guys are a brand new program, you're in your infancy, as you've been kind of alluding to, you guys don't have the resources yet to have a facility, to have consistent practice time or a place to go to. What sense would it make then for your kids to be playing these powerhouse programs and getting drubbed? Like, how does that make those kids feel better? How does that help their confidence? How does it help really anything if they're getting beat 58-0 on national television? Wouldn't it make sense to play more teams that they could compete against and maybe win and have good things happen? I just don't understand the logic in playing teams that you just can't compete with. Like, how does your program give a kid a better opportunity than a school like an Eastmore Academy or a Harvest Prep or a Pick Central or a Groveport Madison or really anybody in Columbus that has facilities, that has guaranteed games, where they're going to have information about them online? Like, what advantage are you guys providing if you don't have, the resources that even underfunded public city schools have?
Because you got to take a step back in what you said. You said, what advantages does a young man have coming to my school or the school we're at in our program versus, let's say, at Eastmore Academy, correct?
Correct.
Because the rules that are laid out at Eastmore Academy doesn't allow for a lot of our students. So if a student went into 9th grade and then his school closed down, he went into foster care, he didn't go to school for a year, his clock started. So even though he can reclass and play for me, it's better for him to get on the field and play than go to Eastmore and not play at all. So the opportunities that we're providing is the opportunities that we provide for some of these students, and most of our students, is because they can't go somewhere else.
So if you have a kid that is playing his 6th season of high school football, why is he even competing against other high school kids? I just don't understand how a kid gets better if you're 20 years old, potentially. There is a kid, Crockett Smith, I think he's an offensive lineman.
Correct.
He played basketball at East.
Correct.
He was on the roster in 2017-18. That would mean he was a freshman in the 2016 football season. This is his 6th season of high school football. What sense does that make for him to go against high school kids? Like, how is that better than him going to a junior college?
I'm gonna explain why. Because I can't get too much into his specific situation. But he's 18 years old, and he had a situation just like similar to what I just told you, where you have some guys who are going to school, didn't go to school, had to be out of school. The situation that they were put in was just a little bit different. So it might have taken him more time, but he's still the same age. So if I start high school, I started high school at 13. If I started high school at 13, and I'm just going to give you an example myself. If I started high school at 13 and I turned 14 going into high school, my mom and dad were killed. I went into foster cares. I went to charter schools. I didn't go to school. I was running away for 2 years. Then I come back. I need my 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade to catch up. And when I catch up, I'm still 18 years old because I was younger. Then I should be able to play. I'm 18. So
are you saying that every kid who has graduated already that plays for your team has those same circumstances? So DeQuan Simmons, who went to Columbus South, he played basketball. I covered him too. He graduated in 2021, so he's also 18 years old?
DeQuan Simmons is not on the team, so I don't know.
I saw him on a roster because, again, we can't find any information on your players anywhere.
I understand. Yeah,
so why, if you're trying to help these kids, why wouldn't you post a roster online?
So what we're going to do is take your advice of what you said, do these things that you said, and improve and get better. So let's get this roster together. You can get my information too. I'll meet up with you wherever you want. We can sit down. I'll bring some of the students with him. You can talk to them individually. Because if you really want to expose their story and tell their story, this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Give my information.
I'm not asking that. I'm just asking you as a head football coach to just supply a roster. That's all I'm asking.
I understand that, and that's what I'm going to do. But more importantly, you said, you want to talk to some, because you do want to talk to them and speak to these kids and hear about their stories, correct?
I just want to see who's on your team. That's all I'm asking.
I'm sorry.
I think people in Columbus. I'm in Columbus. There's a lot of people on here in Columbus. We want to understand who's playing for you guys.
Okay.
Because I know coaches in the city league that they feel like COF prior was going after some of their kids. They just want to know who's playing on these teams. That's all.
Okay.
I'm sure the kids have great stories, but I just want to know who's playing for you guys.
All right, and I'm saying that I misunderstood what you said, because when you first started the conversation, you said, I know that you said you wanted that you should speak to these kids, but it's difficult to do that because you don't provide a roster. I thought you were alluding to the fact that you wanted to speak to them. But
I was alluding to the fact that it's hard to reach out to your kids if you don't have a roster.
If you don't have exactly.
We don't know who plays for you guys.
Right. I misunderstood what you said. So we're going to have to get better about that and put out a roster. Like I said, we supplied a roster to ESPN. And we always supply rosters to teams that play us. And then, like I said, you have my personal information. I'll send you a roster. I'll put contact information on it. I also put their Twitters, because I hope that because you want to know who's playing for us, that you can get a chance, because with great power comes great responsibility, that you can talk to these young men and get their stories out there. And it's a good story, and a lot of them have a great story to tell. Maybe that'll help with their recruiting. And, I could use your help. So any advice that you have on making us a better program, I think your advice for us right now is that we need to put a roster together and get it over to you so that the media has a roster so you guys know who's playing for our team and take those steps forward, correct?
Well, yes, because that would make sense then if, number 54 got hurt on national TV on ESPN, and then
they would know who it was.
They couldn't even say who it was. They couldn't say, hey, best wishes for John Smith, who's injured on the field. Absolutely. Like, well, we don't have a 54 on this roster.
Absolutely. And the reason that a lot of that happened is because we don't switch up our numbers for our backup guys, and then in the middle of the game they were like, you can't wear number 86 on the line, you got to throw on another jersey. So a lot of that happened, and and again, like I said, that was just at a middle of the game thing, and we have guys that switch jerseys for whatever reasons. You know what I mean? I think it's luck and tradition, but I appreciate you calling in, man. I appreciate you telling me the things that we need to do to get better. And like I said, give my contact information so I can call you and I can help get some of these kids and their stories out there in the media so people can understand who we're helping. And it's more than just, we just want to know who's playing for your team, because that's not really much. But the fact that you can take that and say, this kid is playing for his team and this is his story and this is where he's going to college, and just helping these young kids out, man. So I appreciate your call and your question.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, God. It looks like I have a player here from the Bishop Sycamore team. Is that Jeremy? Jeremy, are you in here? Nayborn? Maybe he's going on that.
Oh, buddy, that's the guy right there.
Nayborn is?
Yeah, that's the guy right there.
Once he get in, we'll take him.
We got Jeremy.
Ohio varsity.
We got Jeremy.
Ohio varsity.
Okay.
Ohio varsity. Go ahead. Nothing. All right. Next person.
Listen, man, I saw Coach Hall on there. There's a whole lot of people I thought were going to ask some questions.
How's it going, Coach? Hold on, wait. Let me go Ohio varsity first. So, Chris, hold on 1 second. Ohio varsity. Okay.
Hey, Coach, my name's Steve Hare. I just have a quick question for you. You keep talking about a school. You talked about trying to help kids fill in the gaps where they need to get NCAA certified or to move on and become successful adults. Who are you accredited by?
So the TPA schooling services we had are accredited by whatever accreditation that they go through.
Can you elaborate on that? What was the organization you mentioned?
So the organization that we're going to start using, like I said, for enrollment tomorrow is called Excel, and they're accredited by Advanced Ed and whoever the accreditation people.
I'm familiar with Excel.
Say what?
I said I'm familiar with Excel, but
that's good.
You're going to start using them?
So our enrollment in our school starts tomorrow. So our guys got to sit down and get their classes and start doing their work tomorrow. Yep, September 1st is our start date.
So you're using Excel, but you're not the school then?
No, we're the houser. So what happens is we have a contract with Excel to educate our students.
Okay, and so my next question then revolves around you just played in a high school football showcase on ESPN.
Correct.
You're playing other high school teams from around the country, including here in Ohio. Why are you a high school team if your kids are 19, 20 years old and they've already completed their high school eligibility?
Because
as a high school team as opposed to a club team.
Okay, so the answer to that question is really involved, and I'm glad you asked that because this will give us an opportunity to explain that. You have prep schools who traditionally have fifth-year players. If you go to Max Preps and look through states, you can click and say prep school, and you have a list of those. Those all have fifth-year players. So, for instance, Western Reserve Academy. Western Reserve Academy in Ohio has fifth-year players, and they play all around. You have teams from Canada who have fifth-year players, and they play all around. So it's the same thing is that. So it would be the same question you asked them because the rules allow for that to be played. Number two, when we do this in that exposure, they have also prep leagues. And those prep leagues have guys that are what you said, 20, 21, 22, so on and so forth. We don't have any 20-year-olds on our team. That's just a misconception of what people say. And the guys that we do have that are older or have exhausted their eligibility as far as what the rules state that you can do, they'll play in other games. Those are other guys on the team. So we're trying to work with HH Prep or some of these other prep schools to give a lot of these other guys opportunity to get their film out there. But they're not included into what is traditionally called our high school program. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, and I'm glad you brought up those other prep schools because the big difference between those prep schools and yours is they have an online presence that talks about their school. The only thing anyone can find about Bishop Sycamore is a quick little page about football with not much information. So where's the prep school part of it?
Correct. So the fact that you entered into that is one of the things I want to talk about because that's what we need to do, right? Things about getting better. We need to sit down and make sure somebody gets an online presence, gets our online thing together. What's it called? The website. There you go. Make sure we get this website together. Make sure we take time to sit there and inform people. And that's why I came on today, to make sure that I can inform you about the program, make sure I can inform you about what's going on. Like, make sure I can inform you about that. So we want to make sure that we give you the information so you can say, just like you said, great, that makes sense. Go ahead and then be supportive of the program. And that's what we want to do. So what I'm going to do is take from what you said, we need to make sure we get on and get this online thing taken care of, this website, make sure it's more informative, make sure it explains, like, here, this is what this varsity team does. This is our national team as we play. If we do have some prep guys, these are the games that they're going to play on. And just be better about getting out the information, being better about making sure our voice is heard, being better about people having information. Because I think once the people get the information, once people understand what we're doing, they have a response like you. That's great. That makes sense. What do you do this? Again, just like I said to the last young man that I was speaking to, last young lady I was speaking to, get my information. Get on our Twitter. Give us ideas. Check out this. Check out that. Maybe we can do that. If you coach football, come on down. Give us some ideas. Because we're all about trying to help the kids in the community, and it starts with people in the community, just like yourself.
But I think you can understand why people are skeptical about your organization.
Absolutely. I can understand why people are skeptical, which is why I'm on the phone right now to make sure that we remove all the skepticism, why we answer questions, why we get involved, why we get you involved. This way, it can help have answers. So when you're down sitting with your family and they say, hey, did you hear about that Bishop Sycamore? Yes, and I went down there and I brought some socks and some bottled waters to those guys, and they're great guys, and they're doing this and that. So we want to stop the skepticism, and we're going to do that today. That's why I'm here to talk and answer questions.
Okay, but you're in your third year of existence, and you don't have anything on your website about your school.
Yes, sir. And guess what? We're going to start correcting that immediately. As soon as I get off here, I'm gonna take your advice and the things that you say, and I'm gonna call around. I'm gonna see some people who have some free time and tell them, hey, we need to get on the website and revamp this website. Make sure we get on the website and explain about school, talk about that, have more of a school site, and then have a link to the football, because that's not who we are, just football. So we want to make sure we get out here and do that, and I'm gonna do my best to do that. I can promise you that.
But don't you believe that people have a reason to be skeptical that you'll do that? Because, as I mentioned, you're in your third year. You were with COF the first year. You were with another organization in 2019. I don't know who you were affiliated with in 2020 as far as the school part of it goes. And then here you are in 2021, and you're a football coach. And as I said, it's admirable, the vision that you have for the program. I believe you should give kids an opportunity and help them, whether it's chase their football dreams or just graduate from high school and get a good job. That's admirable. But are you the right guys for the job if you're in your third year and you haven't stressed the academic side on your website?
I can't answer that question, but I'm sure now that you brought it up, the administration is probably going to think about that. But until that day comes, what I'm going to do is wake up every day. I'm going to tie my bootstraps as best as I can, and I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to work hard for these kids. And what I'm going to do is, there's safety in the counsel of many. I'm going to take your idea. And the fact that you brought this up is great. Like, hey, you need to work on your website. Get that website. Because like you said, there is skepticism. And so that's why we want to make sure we address that skepticism today. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call the people that do the website for us, and I'm going to tell them that they need to put that website, shut that website down, And as they shut that website down, we're going to go and start working on the next website that'll inform people about the education. It'll inform people about what we do. It'll inform people about the things that are important, and then we'll go from there. And I really appreciate you spending the time to come online and talk to us and tell us about the things that we can do better, because we want to do better. So all the things that you're saying, I'm acknowledging, and I think it's right. This is why people are skeptical about the program. This is why people are skeptical about what's going on, because they don't know. And this is an opportunity to educate them. This is an opportunity to talk to them about it. And that's what I want to do. Give my information. Any ideas that you have. Do you have a guy that builds a website? Do you build a website? Do you have any ideas about what should be on the website? And those things, help me out, because that's what this really is. This is a request for help wherever we can receive it from. Clearly, we need to, because we have a bunch of people with ideas that are things that I haven't thought of or didn't think was so important, because I'm more focused on making sure they eat, making sure that they have a place to stay, making sure that they're loved and all that. And I'm not looking at some of the things that we probably should have looked at, like making sure we have a functional website. One that's not too expensive, but a functional website that explains more about what we do. Better job at marketing. So I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you calling and giving us some ideas, sir.
But you're a football coach. You wouldn't go into a Friday night football game without practicing plays. You have a game plan.
Yes,
you went into this school with a vision, but you executed it very poorly, and you're now in your third year. At what point do you bench your starting quarterback? And I'm not talking about the player. I'm talking about the people that are running this organization.
Well, I think here's the thing. So if you look at a regular, and that example is right. So you have a plan, but the execution is bad. But usually what you're saying is, if I could use your analogy, I just don't want to steal it from you, but if I use your analogy, you're saying that when do you pull your starting quarterback? Well, the problem is, if we don't have another quarterback, he's going to have to stay in the game. So we're going to have to go out there and find us another quarterback. We're going to have to go out there and find some more people to help out, which is why I'm saying to you, it sounds like you're a very, very smart man. You sound very articulate. You speak really well. So I wanted to get this opportunity to put out an olive branch. Like, hey, you seem really smart. Why don't you come down and give us help? Get my contact information. Maybe you could be that quarterback for us.
Well, what I'm telling you is, if you're asking me for my advice, I'm telling you to fold up shop and let established organizations take those kids and give them an opportunity, because you're failing those kids right now.
Yes, sir. Well, I guess here's the thing. I'm not gonna fold up. I'm not gonna fold up shop. But
hello, we there?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. So that advice, sir, if we stay on the same analogy, that advice, sir, would be, are you saying that in the middle of the half, because a quarterback isn't playing right, we should just tell the other team we're quitting?
No, I'm not saying you tell the other team you're quitting, but you're jeopardizing the health of your players. You're jeopardizing the well-being of those players, and it's a stain on high school sports, what you're doing. Now, you mentioned some of those great prep school programs, and they're providing real opportunities. It seems that you're exploiting these kids for whatever personal gain you seek, because you didn't go into it as, let's give these kids an opportunity to school, to improve their education and graduate or get the courses that they need. You focused on football for 3 years, and that's why you find yourself in this situation.
Well, if I can I interject for a second?
Sure.
Okay. Well, when you say that we're not providing, and this is Andre Peterson.
Introduce yourself, Coach. I'm sorry.
Introduce yourself, Coach. And if you're not speaking at the
Peterson.
moment, guys, please hit the mute button, please.
My name is Andre Peterson. I'm the director of the school. And so when you say that we're not giving the kids opportunities to get their grades and everything, everything that we do, whether it's online, whether it's the online educators that we use or whatever, all Ncaa certified. We put kids in school for the past 3 years. And so you're right. There are things that we can do better. And there are things that we're gonna do better. But to say fold up shop and start all over again is not an option, simply because we have 50 kids right now that are depending on us to get this right. And so when we look at all those things, you're right, sir. there are some things that we got to do better. If you talk to any of my kids, I tell them we have to do better. The administration has to do better. And I totally understand that. But quitting has never been an option for me in my life. I quit one thing in my life. And I was 8 years old, and I was playing football. I didn't like the way the coaches were talking to me. I didn't like all these other things. And so I quit. And I got two older brothers we're all 2 years apart, and we all played in college together. And I remember my dad, when we came home from the awards banquet, and I went in my room and I started crying. And my dad said, "Why are you crying, boy?" And I said, "Daddy, I'm crying because I didn't get an award." My dad told me, he said, "Andre, so let me tell you this." He said, "There's never a reward without the work." And so our desire, is to be able to do the work, do it correctly. The reward is not. People think that this is a financial gain for us. Me and my wife and Roy and some other people have put in thousands and thousands of dollars. Not only upon not just taking care of our own households, but trying to take care of the needs of these young men. And so when you say there's a reward, 3 years, I haven't gotten a check. 3 years, Roy hasn't gotten a check. The coaches that we haven't gotten a check. And so to understand that it's not about, when you say personal gain, I played 4 years of college football for one of the best coaches ever in college football history. I have a son in this program. I have 4 boys altogether. I don't live my life through my boys. The reason why is because I've already lived my life. I've already done what I can do athletically, academically. And so when people say that there's a personal gain for it, they don't understand. One of the reasons why this whole thing hurts me, it hurts my heart, is because you're right. Part of the issue is because people don't know because we haven't put it out there. The other part is because people know because because we haven't put it out there, they're led to their own assumptions. That's what we have to change. You're exactly right. That's what we are going to change. You're exactly right. But to quit would mean I'm quitting on my son, would mean I'm quitting on my family, and would mean I'm quitting on these other 49 young men that are depending on me to make sure that they get what they need. So academically, when you talking about academically, yeah, our kids go to school. When you're talking about academically, yeah, we put kids in college. And so I truly understand the concern. I think what Roy is saying is that people can be concerned and be dismissive at the same time. Because you can be concerned and say, well, you know what? I get it. I'm going to take that olive branch that's being offered out, and I'm going to give you some input on how you can do this better. But then there's people who are saying that they're concerned, and then are dismissive and say, you need to do this, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to give you any advice. I don't want to give you any help. And I understand that too. The reality of it is this is not for everybody. But I know this. I know that the heart of this program, the heart of the leaders of this program, is to help these young men. So you don't understand when we have to sit down and cry with these kids. People don't understand when we have to sit down and mentor these kids because they lost a friend or lost a loved one. People don't understand when you're dealing with young men who have multiple needs. Some of those needs that come from a public school that is a regular school that weren't met. People don't understand that. People don't understand that we try to fix something in a year that was messed up for 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. People don't understand that. And so when people say that, and if you really care, then help. Listen to this. I can take creative criticism all day long. I can take it. I really can. And I totally understand it. Because there's a lot of things that we've opened ourselves up to be criticized about. But the major part of creative criticism is creative. Create a new way for us to be able to do things. Create a new look, or create a new way for us to look at things. wrong, and I apologize if I say you. And
I'm not offended.
I don't mean that. I'm not mean that. I really am. But I'm just saying, as I looked over the past 24 hours and looked on Twitter and the attacks that we've gotten, and I'm not saying that some of them aren't justified. I'm really not. I'm saying this. I'm saying at the very heart of this program, beyond all the mistakes, all the things that we did wrong, all the things that we could do better, is truly to help these young men. And so people believe that or they don't. You know, I wish that we were getting millions and millions of dollars like some of these other schools, because life would be a lot easier for us. Reality of it is we're not. And so that's why we have to create partnerships with other organizations. That's why we have to create partnerships with other people in the community to be able to do things. And it's a task. And the crazy part, it's a task because we don't have that money coming in. We have to also, at the same time, take care of our own households. But the reality of it is these kids, when I say kids, I mean young men. I don't mean that, but these young men mean the world to me. If you ask any of them, do they think Coach Peterson loves them? Do they think Coach Peterson cares about them? Do they think Coach Roy or Coach Jackson cares about them and loves them? They'll give you the answer. And I'm not telling the answer to give them. I'm saying that because that's been expressed and it's been shown and it's been understood. And so this is not something easy that we took on. I totally understand. I get it. But it's also not something I can quit on.
Well, nobody's saying you should quit. What I'm suggesting is you put these kids in a better situation. I don't think prodding your new fledgling program out on ESPN was a good idea. And so the justification behind that is what?
So let me ask you a question. In college football, every single year at the beginning of the season, you have a Power 5 team that plays a Division II or Division I AA program. Now that Power 5 teams have not to say better athletes, but they have more scholarships. So they have more opportunity for the better athletes. They have more advertising to get those athletes. They have better equipment. They have better training. They have better food. They have better housing. They just have better everything. So when those Alabamas or Clemsons or some of those schools play those smaller teams, that coach from that team has something to say. He says, well, you know what? I have a choice right now that I can put my unmatched team against the Power 5. Now, why would I do that?
Well, it's usually $1.5 million payday.
Well, right, but it's not just that, sir. It's not just that. It's also because it's better advertisement for your program. And even though those teams lose to a Clemson or Ohio State 58-0, 75-0, they still play it. And so when we talk about marketing and branding, it's more to us than just wins and losses. Because we offer the ability to be able to play against some of those better teams in the country, that's part of who we are. And so it's not just as easy as saying, because here's the thing, we played IMG last year and lost. Nobody said nothing. Nobody said, oh my God, I'm worried about the safety of these kids. What's going on? You know why? Because it wasn't on national TV.
Well, I think you're wrong there. People have been talking about COF and Bishop Sycamore for 3 years.
Yeah, but they've been talking about the same thing.
They've been concerned.
No, they haven't been concerned.
No, they absolutely are.
No. They haven't been concerned. They've just been talking. See, concern means I care about you. Concern means I'm worried about you. Concern means that if you need me, I'm here. So it's not concern, sir. It's about the fact that you don't know, that you don't understand, that you don't get it, that it's never been done. That's the blogs and all those different things, that's the difference. So it's not concern. I'm concerned when my son goes outside and he's playing in the street. That's concern.
And speaking of that, Coach, I want to talk a little bit. You got Jeremy in here. Jeremy is a player on your team, correct? Jeremy, are you here?
I just want to see because we had Jeremy here, and also like I don't mean to segue and just kind of interrupt anything. I just want to kind of get some other people talking while we got them here. So Ohio, you still can talk and chat. I'll leave you up. But Judah, Coach Peterson, you got Judah Holtzclaw here. He was committed to this program. Judah, are you there?
Actually, this is Judah's dad. I jumped on. He's a class.
So you had a question here, or you?
Yeah. So I've been listening for about 30 minutes. I didn't catch the first part of it. There are parts of me. It's very conflicting because parts of me I just don't understand why they do what they do. Because they talk about a lot of good stuff, and then they present bad stuff. And what I mean by that is, like, go to a hotel, stay in a hotel, and not pay for that hotel.
Is that true, Mr. Peter?
Those.
Okay, let me answer that question. So we took them on college visit, okay? And we went to some schools in Atlanta, and I think Texas, and I think someplace else. So we stayed, I think, in three or four different hotels. The first hotel that we stayed in, it was being paid by a company that was a sponsor of ours, supposed to be a sponsor of ours, and they set it up under direct bill. So direct bill means that you can build a hotel and then you pay within 30 days or 60 days or whatever the agreement is. So before we even left, that was what was agreed upon. So the reality of it is I would not send these kids on a road trip and not have them a place to stay. Okay? So that happened. They went to the first hotel. When they get there, they get there early in the morning, get dressed, go to the camp. When they get to the camp, by the time they come back, there was an email that was sent from the manager saying, look, we were missing some paperwork, blah, 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 whatever. And so we sent them the paperwork, and they said, okay, well, you can't direct bill it. So it was, and that was on a Saturday morning. And so I think Saturday or Sunday. And so we were trying to get a hold of the people that said they're going to pay for that initial first hotel. And we talked to them, and they were going back and forth, whatever. They were trying to figure out what happened with the direct bill. So in the meantime, we put them in another hotel that was paid. Was it not, Mr. Holtzclaw?
You stayed at the first hotel for 3 days.
Okay. Was it?
I got billed right for the entire bill.
But that was by accident, right? Did you pay for it?
Yeah, the hotel comped me back my money except for my room, and you guys still haven't paid it.
First of all, you don't know if it's been paid or not, but that regardless besides the point. The point is that we weren't responsible. Okay. That the hotel wasn't. That hotel was not in our name, and so that's something. That's something that we'll address with the people that were supposed to pay it. The whole thing is that every hotel after that was paid. Now, the question was the Holtzclaw was not just about the hotel. It was about other things where, we took like 19, 20 kids on a bus on a ride. And after that first hotel, they decided not to stay in the same hotels that we stayed in. So he wanted compensation for that. And he wanted compensation for a rental car because him and his family flew out. That was the issue. Now, the crazy part about this whole story is this, is that we worked tirelessly to try to get Judah in the school. We set up camps. We set up private workouts. We literally contacted the school that he's at right now, playing tight end. We contacted that school to give him a scholarship, for them to offer him a scholarship, which is where he's at right now. And so when you say that you understand part of it, you understand the part of it that concerns you. When you say that you care about these kids, when you say that you care, that you hope that they play and all these different things, but you're only concerned about you, then the concern's not real. See, I don't have time to only be concerned about my son, because my son is a part of this program. And so whether people believe in it or not, And the crazy part is Judah is a classic example of what we do. The truth of the matter is, he's a classic example of what we do. We get on the phones constantly. These coaches get on the phone constantly. Call schools, set up workouts, set up camps, all these different things that we do in order to try to help these kids get into school. And so when people say that, well, I don't like the fact that they don't pay a hotel, well, like I said, and like I told you, that hotel was not in our name. It was supposed to be paid by somebody else. The other thing is the other hotels that we stayed in were all paid. And so regardless of everything else, even in your situation, even in your son's situation, and let me tell you something, I love Judah. I love the fact that he's a leader. I love the fact that he's confident. I love the fact that he feels like he doesn't have to talk. He just cruises on the field. I love everything about him. I love everything about him. And even in the midst of all that, we still were working. We still were working on his behalf. The same thing we do for these other kids. And so when people say those things, look, you're exactly right. And the company that hotel is in has to deal with it. But even though it's connected to us, it's not what we try to be about. Like we any company, any business has had issues. The reality of it is we don't get $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 per kid like other charter schools do, because we're considered a private school. The reality of it is we don't have $1 million backers like some of these other schools do, like IMG or some of these other schools. We don't have endowments set up that's going to be able to take care of all those things that we do, that we need. And so when you look at that thing as a total, and to say, yeah, 4 years ago, yeah, you're right. 4 years ago, we were having some of the same issues. But only by the grace of God have we made it this far. And I'm not taking away anything from anybody else. I'm not even trying to discount Mr. Holtzclaw's issues. But what I'm saying is this, is that our goal is what we try to accomplish, and it's to get these kids in school. And the reality of it is, whether he wants to admit it or not, is one of the reasons why his son is where he's at right now.
My son is where he's at right now because his ability to play football, and he already graduated high school before going into your program.
Mr. Holtzclaw, so, I'm not taking away from Judah's ability. But was Youngstown State not? Let me ask you a question. Was Youngstown State not a school 2 or 3 years ago? Was it not a school a year ago? When did they offer Judah? When did they offer him?
They offered him after a Cincinnati camp.
Okay.
That he
participated
in.
All right.
So.
Okay. But you guys, what I'm saying is this. So you're saying that we didn't work on Judah's behalf. That we didn't contact the coach.
No, you guys did.
Okay.
You guys did contact.
And here's my thing. I'm not.
And you utilized.
Like I said before, I'm not taking anything away from Judah because I love Judah. I love the way he played. I love him as a person. And so I'm not taking away anything from his ability and saying, well, we work magic. We got this guy who's a terrible football player and got him a scholarship, because that's not the case. Because Judah, and the reality of it is Judah should have been one of the most highly recruited quarterbacks in the country. He should have been. But for whatever reason, whatever these people see that I don't see and you don't see and our coaches didn't see, he wasn't. But I'm just saying is that these are the things that we do. This is why this program was started.
Yeah, I understand that, but here's you go back to I let you talk without interrupting you. You can let me talk, and I'll say my piece. The problem is, as adults, men, trying to set good examples, all I heard, and I'm still hearing, is excuses about why that first hotel wasn't paid. And then we stayed in another hotel with you guys, and we got asked to leave that hotel for non-payment. Yes, it did get paid after the fact, but we decided to go on our own and do the rest of the hotels. That's fine. I took a player with me. All I asked for was that player be reimbursed. It wasn't.
sponsored? Did you get the funds in advance? Did you all these things? None of that was done. So when you put a kid, my kid, other kids in situations where you go, okay, we're doing this on a hope and a prayer that we're going to do this, but we may lose funding on our trip to. You guys are going to Texas. That's a long trip. What happens in hotels if you don't have the funds to go stay in those hotels? You just keep doing that. You guys moved from an apartment complex this year. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because of the sponsors not paying again, like last year when you got removed from the apartment complex. So all this history is not history, it's present. So that's why we pulled Judah out of the program. It's not that you guys don't. I genuinely think you care. You guys just don't know how to run a business the way it's supposed to, and you've got kids involved in it. They're right smack in the middle.
Are you done? Okay. All right. Well, first of all, and I totally agree with you as far as the whole thing, as far as sponsorship is concerned. So you're right. Again, part of this platform is to see how we do things better. And so I totally agree. And as a matter of fact, I told you that when we sat down to breakfast, when we went to breakfast, is that the goal of ours is to, from here on out, we would have everything paid for up front. Is that not what I said at the breakfast, at the meeting? So I totally agree with you.
And you also told me that hotel was paid for.
No.
You also said that hotel that we talked about, the very first one, you told me in my face, it's been paid for. I made a phone call as soon as we left there and said, is this hotel paid for? And they said, no.
No, I told you that. I told you I thought it was paid for, and I thought it was. Because I thought they were taken care of. So what I'm saying is this, is you're exactly right. But the reality of it is you know, when God grants us the ability to be able to be self-sustained, like every other school in Ohio is, then this conversation will be mute. And believe it or not, the great thing about how God works is even when you have people who doubt you, He's still working it all for you too. And so we're in the process of a meeting with several different developers and some other people to actually build our own campus, to build our own dorms, so we won't have any issues with the apartments. That apartment that we moved in was not because of not payment. It was because of noise complaints and other things that happen with kids, that happen with young men. And so you're exactly right. So we're working to get those things resolved. We're going to get those things fixed. And I totally agree with you. Like it got to get better. Like I said, that's what this platform is for. And so it's not a knock on you. It's not a knock on Judah. It's not a knock on anybody who came to this program and left. Because the reality is, I look at this the same way I look at somebody leaving the church. There's pastors who get mad because people leave a church and say, "Oh, well, they didn't believe in the vision anyway." That's not how I look at this. The reality of it is regardless of whether you believe in the vision or not, regardless of whether you leave or not, there's a covenant in the Baptist church that says that as soon as you leave this place, you will unite with some other church. It's the same thing. Whether you leave this program or not, there's no hard feeling. There's no I hate you. There's no I hope you fail. There's nothing. Because I want everybody that comes here, I want everybody that comes here and leaves, I want everybody that thinks that they want to come here to be successful. Because it ain't about me. It ain't about these coaches. It's literally about these kids, and you're exactly right. The thing about it is, my is to see how can we make things better? How can we do things better? And you can ask them, because I ask them all the time. And so it's literally nothing. It's literally nothing as far as you're concerned that is against you. I really hope the young state sees what they have in Judah, and he ends up playing where he's supposed to be, because he's a talent and a very great talent. And so I get what you're saying. I do, and I acknowledge it. And it's nothing about me trying to discount it. It's really a true acknowledgement of you're right. We got to be. We have to be more. We have to be more. Be able to be to be able to answer those questions and deal with those things that we need to deal with in the right way. They don't repeat themselves.
Okay, now we're gonna move on to the next question here. Sorry, that's my dog. Christopher has been waiting a very long. Mr. Host Claw, thank you for that comment there and those questions. Hopefully, outside of this, you guys can resolve some of this extra, things going on. But Christopher, you've been waiting for a little while.
I've been here.
And I'm sorry for holding you there. But Mr.
Okay.
Creep's director of the high school. Go ahead.
All righty. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing good, sir. How about yourself?
Pretty good. So, as you know, my name is Christopher. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a youth football coach. I've been checking into your program, and I was just wondering how if I'm a student and I reclassify and I get with you guys, how am I guaranteed these things that you're offering?
So here's the thing. Obviously, you know that there is no guarantees in sports as far as those things dealing with scholarships or anything like that.
Right.
The only thing I can do is offer a young man opportunity. So it's an opportunity to if there's issues with your grades, try to get those corrected. There's an opportunity to try to get you more film and get you more exposure. And so it's not so much, I can't promise you anything. I can offer you the opportunity. And so it's always been, it's one of the reasons why we can't take 100 kids. Because first of all, since we don't have our own living spaces, it's just impossible to be able to do all those things, to afford all those things.
Right.
Second of all,
so basically, when they come to your program, you're accommodating the athlete, whatever resources that you have,
yes,
to make sure that they have their living stability and their academic wise. So your guys are basically helping out the athletes in their way where they can have that second chance to get into college.
yes.
So what I'm asking you is, so if I'm coming from a different state to Columbus, Ohio, to come and play for you guys, how am I comfortable? Like how do you make these kids comfortable enough where they could trust you? What steps are y'all taking where these guys are actually been able to, they're showcasing on ESPN, they're doing their thing on ESPN, but how am I comfortable enough that I know once I go to college, I have my credits, I have everything that I need, that I'm set up right, that nothing that's going to come back and punch me later on?
Because we have kids in college already. I mean, okay. that's the best thing we can do is we have kids in college already. The reality of it is that, when it comes to the academic part of it, we're certified with the Ohio Department of Education as a private school.
No, you're not.
And even though right now we use an online platform that's Ncaa certified. So anything that we do is Ncaa certified. It has to be Ncaa certified in order for us to be able to use it. So we make sure that that's the main thing, that the academic part of it, you're Ncaa certified. All those courses that you take are going to go towards your eligibility. So before COVID came about, the Ncaa said that you have 1 year from the date that you graduate or are supposed to graduate to take classes and all those different things to be able to get whatever issue that you need corrected in order to be able to be academically eligible for scholarship. And so with that, when COVID hit, so if you have a kid that graduated, prior to COVID, it used to be you could take one class.
Right.
That one class you can replace, and it would go on your high school transcripts, and you'd be eligible for scholarship. When COVID hit, the Ncaa, they did a couple different things. So they said that, that the ACT or SAT is not mandatory unless the school that you're trying to go to requires it. So I'll give you an example. My son's getting recruited by Air Force. Air Force him to have the ACT. So he had to take the ACT. He also has about 3 or 4 other Division II scholarship offers that they don't require. So there's a difference. So when COVID hit, the NCAA said that now you don't have 1 class to take. You can take 6 classes, and those 6 classes will go on your transcripts. So you have core classes where you have to have 10 locked in between your freshman and junior year. If those 10 classes are locked in and you pass them all, then as long as you meet all the other requirements as far as the GPA and all that type of stuff, then you're able to earn a scholarship.
Okay.
If those 10 courses are not locked in, then you can't. So anything after those 10 courses. So you figure that a kid will take between 6 and 8 other courses, core courses, whether it's math, history, science, whatever. Or maybe 4 or 5 during their senior year. Okay?
Okay.
So they can go back and retake those classes. And in those classes, if they had a D in it and they get an F with us, if they have a D in it, they get an A with us, then that A replaces that D. If they have an F or a C and they get an A, it replaces that grade. That's what the NCAA says. That's not what we say. That's what the NCAA is saying.
Okay.
So that's how we.
My last question for you is, man. So here in Columbus, Ohio, it's rough for a lot of student athletes. So if I'm somebody from the outs and I want to help, how do we go about helping these student athletes and helping the movement that you're trying to bring here to Ohio?
Well, you can contact me or one of the coaches on Twitter to do that, because the reality of it is, Russ, we do need help, and the whole thing is that there's so many kids. Let me tell you this. There was a young man that I coached in Little League football, and that young man was an honor roll student, National Honor Society, was all-state in football, was two-time all-state champion or all-Ohio champion in track, all these different things. And so that kid was bypassed simply because his coach wasn't doing their due diligence. They weren't sending out their film. They weren't doing any of those things. And so I seen him at church one day, and I said, bro, like, where you going to school at? And he's like, Coach, I don't even know. I said, what you mean you don't know? Like, you're an all-state football player. You're 6'1", 195 corner. What you mean you don't know? And he was like, man, he said, well, my coach, he really didn't push me like sending my film and all this type of stuff. And so there's situations like that where we take a look at it and say, you know what? Yeah, like we got to fix this somehow. We got to get this right. And so those are things that we look at. Those are things that we know that need to be fixed. There's kids that are in these high schools that are eligible for a quarter or two a year.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for today. I'll contact you direct.
Thank you, Chris. Jeremy, Neighborn, you've been waiting patiently as well. Jeremy, you there? I'm not sure. Jeremy's been waiting. I've had him on here for a little while. Not getting to him. So, Jeremy, whenever you get here, go ahead and speak. But I got Kingston, and I get a couple more on. We've been going a little longer than I expected, but Coach, sitting there, they pushed off a little bit here. So one thing I do want to put in there, hey, make sure you guys go follow me, follow Mr. Sycamore and everybody else in here who's speaking. Just had to self-promote a little bit. Kingston, go ahead. It was your question.
Hey, how you doing? So I had just a few things to say. I'm from Ohio, played in Ohio, coached in Ohio, specifically in Columbus. My whole issue with the situation is you guys want support, but you went straight to the national level. Me coaching in Ohio for years, Didn't hear much about it. I think you need to win the support of the community first before you take those kids and put them on a national stage like that. I think that's where the problem went wrong. So now you got a negative publicity, and you don't have no one to vouch for you. You might have a coach here and there, but you don't have a community to vouch for you. So when you got these people from other places reaching out, you can't say, hey, ask the high school coaches in Columbus, ask the high school coaches in Ohio, everybody on Twitter, who's this Bishop Sycamore? I happen to know who it was because I followed the COF situation. I stay in tune with the Columbus community, even though I'm in Arizona now. But that's where I think the issue has lied and why things have went south. I'm all for helping the kids. I'm all for your cause. But it's kind of hard to believe what's going on when you didn't reach out to your community first. I'm not sure if you're from Columbus, but you played at Ohio State. But that's where the whole root of the issue comes from. When you don't have your own community, I guarantee this would never fly in Texas. Because if there was a school in Texas and it's up and coming as a prep school, I guarantee you every high school coach in Texas is going to know they're going to have support first before they go out on ESPN playing IMG. That's one issue I have. And then you have someone that says they do the scheduling for you guys, claiming that you have multiple different teams, 100 plus players. But when I hear you speak, you say you only have 49. That's another issue. There's a lot of discrepancy when it comes to information being put out there about you guys. You got somebody going to bat for you that's hiding behind forums, claiming you got all these facilities. You're practicing at the rack in Easton, saying that you have pictures of the classrooms. They've seen 100 plus players sitting there doing the online coursework, and then I hear that you guys just now starting enrollment September 1st, and you say you only got 50 players. And then majority of players I'm seeing are claiming to be from internationally, from different countries, France, whatever. Then you got kids from Cali, you got kids from Texas. I'm not seeing a lot of Ohio kids there, so that's why I'm like, what's really going on? Then Max Preps, you're classified as in a conference in Texas. There's no affiliation to Ohio at all when it comes to football. That's why I have an issue with it. I have no issue with what you're doing for the kids because I'll have no problem coming to help out, give stuff, donate, whatever, support. But when you don't even seem like you don't even attempt to win the hearts of your community, aka Columbus, and you're using all these different resources from other places, not Columbus, it makes it hard to support, and it makes you question what's really going on. So I don't know what you have to say about that.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you just said. It's a couple different things. First of all, well, let me say this. We did reach out to people in Columbus. Whether people say or not, we do have the support of a lot of coaches in some of the schools within the Columbus because those are some of the kids that we end up helping. Let me tell you the issue with that. The issue with that is because we're not a part of OSHA. And we're not a part of OSHA because of a number of different reasons. But when you're dealing with people, so the reality of it is we wanted to be a team where we play both Columbus schools and some national level teams. So that's how we set it up. There were some issues with OSHA and what we were doing and whatever as far as the kids coming here for boarding purposes and some other things. And so that's why they never let us in OSHA. So then you go and you say, okay, well, not you, I'm saying. But then people go and say, well, you know, when we have to go and join a league in Texas. Well, the reason why we joined a league in Texas is because OSHA's rules is that when we were trying to play some of the teams in Ohio, or any team in Ohio, let's just say that, part of the thing is they were saying, well, you're not a part of ran into playing teams that's not in Ohio. And those teams saying, hey, you're part of OSHA, and no, we're not a part of OSHA. Or, them calling OSHA and them giving us a less than favorable review. As far as, they're not in our league, and blah, blah, blah. And so we were trying to see how we could, the teams that we play. So when we play a team like Massillon that played us last year, and their coach is a great person, we actually talked to him. We went to the Youngstown State camp, and he's one of the people that support us. So when we talk to those schools, we don't want them to have to play us and not get points. So when we look at like a team from Canada, like North Clarkson comes here, and OSHA allows Ohio teams to get points for playing North Clarkson, even though North Clarkson is not a part of any state organization, even though they technically have reclass or 50-year players, but there's those schools still let me get points. So we felt like if we tried to join a league, and so we were contacted by Ncaa that said, hey, look, we're looking for teams to join our league. You don't have to be in Texas, and hopefully this will help you out in the issues with Ohio teams not playing. Then that's why I would rather be in the league in Ohio. I'm from Ohio. I didn't play in Ohio State. I played at Youngstown State. That's why I said I played for one of the best coaches in the country. But I would rather for us to be able to play local teams. And the reality of it is, the true reality of it is this, is that I want to be able to help, like I said prior to this, the young men in this community. I don't want it to be where it's just a bunch of kids from different parts of the country. Now, understand this. I want to help everybody. For those kids from Cali or Maryland or Texas or wherever, those young men are part of my family. And I want to help them just as much as I want to help the kids from Columbus. The difference is them being able to not get caught up in the talk throughout Ohio that, this is just a sham or whatever the case may be. And they receive that help. They say, hey, look, if you can help me out, then that's cool. I'll take that. Where when you don't have the support, and it's not like we haven't tried to get the support of the people in Columbus, because we have. In Ohio, period. Because we truly have. It's just a difference of people saying, yeah, I want to do it, let's do it. Then people saying, no, I'm not messing with you. OSHA said, don't mess with you, I ain't messing with you. That's the difference. One of the reasons why we were able to play Massillon and St. Ignatius and Aurora and St. Ed's last year was simply because of COVID. And you know why? Because they were supposed to play the North Clarksons and some of those other teams that couldn't travel. And so now it became a point where, okay, we need to fill a game. We need to get our kids some looks. And I'm truly grateful for them taking on the issues with all the people that came against them for playing us. And they stood tall. They stood tall and said, well, you know what? Regardless, this is about the kids. This is what we're going to do. So it's not like we haven't attempted to be able to get the support of the people in Columbus, because we have. As far as, the things as far as the teams are concerned and all those things, when I say I'm talking about the kids that we travel with nationally, that play this national schedule. So I don't know the exact number. I'm talking about the kids that we travel with nationally. And so what I'm saying is the majority of the kids that don't are a lot of kids from Columbus. But the truth is that I don't want people to think that we're fighting against Columbus and not caring about these kids here, because we do. Because we do. It's literally because when people get on blogs and stuff like that, and I tell people all the time, like I'm not really a blog person, because is literally somebody's opinion of what they think you are. And so when people look at me and they say I'm 6'3", I'm 330 pounds, bald-headed, gold tooth, all those things, they assume what I am. They assume that I'm just some big dude that got a short fuse and all these different things. The reality of it is I'm not any of those things. Not any of those things. That I am a person that cares and has feelings that will give somebody $20 that's homeless on the street quicker than I'll give it to my son. But what I'm saying in that is there are people who assume, and so they make statements, they make blind statements simply because there's no ramifications or repercussions from it. The reality of it is I can't fight these.
Go ahead. Look, I didn't know.
No, I'm just saying, I tell our kids all the time, you can only control what you can control, and that's you. And I know in this situation that there's a lot of things that we can, will, and do better. But I also know that I'm not going to try to fight every battle, because every battle is not mine to fight. I can't argue with someone. I tell, like me and my brothers, we argue about politics all the time. And I tell people all the time, when people were arguing about Trump or, whoever, presidency, those arguments are futile. And the reason why they're futile is because people's minds are literally already made up about a situation. And I can maybe give you some things to shed light on some things. And the reality of it is you're either going to believe it or not. And if you don't believe it, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I got you, Coach, and thank you, Kingston, for that question. Jalen Knight is the current player on this team, correct?
Yes, sir.
Jalen, are you here? I know you get your mic mute, but Jason, I'm here. Jalen, I want to pose a question to you. How is your experience right now at Bishop Sycamore, and where are you from? Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get going.
I'm Jalen Knight. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a quarterback on the team. I recently got injured, so I'm sidelined for the season. As of right now, I got injured earlier throughout the season. I got injured the first game, actually, early in that game. But to answer your question, it's been a great experience. I built a lot of great relationships with players, coaches, stuff like that throughout this whole process. When you got, coach, I stay with my coach because I'm a minor. So I stay with my coach and just having him take me in as if I'm one of his own, making sure everything is fine, making sure I'm good with, food, everything like that. Because, it's tough to send your kid across states because a lot of us come from out of state. It's tough to send your kid somewhere and, not know if they're okay every night. But being with these coaches and being with people that I've been around, it's been really good. It's like a brotherhood. It's like the big brother type of thing. We all, like our coach Roy said earlier, it's like a big sleepover. We're all with each other. We're all around each other all the time, and we built like a brotherhood. It's like through all the stuff that's been happening past the 24 hours, we all been saying we got your back. Like nobody's gonna hop shit. Nobody's gonna turn on each other. We're all gonna stay here, and we're all gonna figure it out. And when we turn it around, people are gonna have chances us differently, because it can only get better from here. And as long as I'm still playing, and as long as I'm still here, it's gonna get better. I can promise that.
Now, Jalen, with that, you made a good point. Now, what grade are you in?
I'm in 23.
Okay, so the big question has been, from a lot of different people is about schooling. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Like the school aspect, like how we do school here?
Yes.
So it's like it's online schooling mainly. We have in-person tutors that we can get. Like if we're struggling, our coaches can get us tutors. They can come in person. We'll meet up at one of our libraries and we can talk to our tutors, stuff like that, and get some help with things we need help with. It's pretty much catered to the student. Like if you're struggling with like some courses, you get that helped out with. You got everything situated. You just need some recruiting. Then you could start your college courses and stuff like that. So you can get a head start on some things. You can learn about the business aspect of it. Like Coach Rory can sit there and Coach Peterson can sit there and talk to us all day about business and a lot of things like that. And what we can do after football. A lot of that stuff that we learn is about things we can do after football and things that help us throughout life and become better men, better fathers, stuff like that.
Excellent. And how did you find out about the program?
So Coach Roy had reached out to me, and he reached out to me earlier. Coach Roy reached out to me on Twitter because in Maryland we had delayed season. We played in spring due to COVID. So after that, then I came out here because I liked the opportunity they could give me. You know, I liked the coach was just genuine with me. You know, just saying that I felt like I would come out here and it'll benefit me. You know, and
you said, like I said, you one of the big things that's just going around, and I'm gonna say it is, are you being scammed? Do you feel like you're being scammed by this program? Because that seems to be a reoccurring theme from a lot of different individuals. Is that this whole program is a scam? It's not real. Things aren't real. You know, you heard from Judith's dad. You know, are you having those same experiences that these other people are saying?
No, sir, not at all. One of the biggest things that you could take to credit to this program is after I got hurt, after I got injured, the coaches made sure everything was straight with my injury. You know, made sure if I need to get surgery done back home, if everything was okay, if I need to get surgery done there, everything was okay, and just everything from that standpoint was okay. It was never anything fraudulent, anything nothing like that. So a lot of these things, just things that people don't know, and like how you go and our coach be open to come down. You could spend a day with us. You could spend a day with the team and just talk to us and to see how it is, because everybody, when they come and see it, they like, dang, like these guys actually are like, there's a lot of great things going on. That's why people like, a lot of people will like us when they actually come and see us. You know, you got to come and see it and how it is, because it's not traditional high school. It's not your traditional wake up at 7 a.m. and go into class and stuff, that type of thing. It's not that kind of thing. So it's just different. It's different, and we're starting from the bottom right now. We're starting from different standpoints. So it's just we're trying to get this thing built up, and the players that are here now are going to be the building blocks, because 10 years from now, we're fathers and husbands and stuff like that. We're going to look back and be like, dang, we really started that program up. We flipped that thing around, because we know. And so when kids come after us, they don't go through the same problems we're going through right now.
You know, and as far as the IMG game, and playing 2 games in 3 days, you know, how do you guys prepare for that?
So pretty much we practice multiple times throughout the day, and we feel and we're really conditioned. We're really in shape. That's something that we've really been stressing throughout the summer. It's like being ready. It's like being ready for the season that we're going to take on. But you know, we took that Stowe Ross game kind of as a scrimmage. I mean, I didn't play in it. I didn't play in the IMG game or any of that. I wasn't there. So I'm back home recovering from my surgery that I got on my leg. So it's just a matter if you kind of trying to see where we match up at, trying to get some bump before going to that game. But it was that's all I can say about that one.
That's all right. That's understandable. Hopefully, like I said, you get better soon. So, what do you expect to see you by the end of the season? Are you done? You said you broke your leg?
Yeah, I actually fractured my ankle. So I had to get surgery because I had some ligament damage that went along with that they thought surgery would be best. I could if I don't make it back for the last game, but my doctors feel as though it's best for me to stop the rest of the season and get ready for the spring.
Well, we hope you get better, Jalen, and thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, and again, fellas, we've been going for almost 2.5 hours, and we still got close to 300 people in here. So obviously, this is something that's important, Coach, to the community. Not just in Columbus, Ohio, and also nationally. But I got Trill. Trill, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Trill, are you a player on this team?
You said what?
Are you a player on this team? Or are you just
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Coach, your mic's a little muffled right now.
I got you. Let me fix that. Go ahead, Trill.
Well, I just want to say one thing.
one thing I know I can say about this program, you know, with Coach Peterson, Coach Roy, and most of the coaching staff is one thing that they define as brotherhood and love, you know. And back home where I'm from, come from the West Coast, from California, you know, you don't really. It's a lot of kids out there that don't get that much exposure due to politics, do whatever it is. So, you know, I was originally class of 21. Due to COVID, I got my extra year back. So, you know, they gave me the chance to reclassify and play my game and show on the national television what it is. And, you know, even though it is what it was on ESPN and they just giving us the opportunity to show our talent, show what we can do, and show everybody that it's not a form of fraudulent stuff. You know, it's not a form of that. It's a form of we're trying to get these kids exposure. We're trying to get these kids the love of football, the passion, trying to show people how we play under the map. How kids that don't get the exposure on the West Coast come to the Midwest and can play, you know, that groundhog football, that smash mouth football. And, you know, so, and you know, you go back and you can watch film, and it's something like Coach said earlier, it's from the top, bottom, from the players' mistakes, from coaching mistakes. You know, it's only game 2, and we're going to come down together to the bottom of it. It's 10 games in the season, you know, like Jalen Knight said, we started from the bottom. We build bricks up. We build a wall. We build that wall so it can't get broken down in 10, 15 years from now for the future kids. When we build that wall, when they are ranked number 1 in the country, you got to start somewhere, you know, so. Just I have to say that, you know, and it's a lot of bad going on saying about the program, but you know, there's nothing bad going on with the program. There's nothing going on. We good, we straight. And like I said, I posted, you fall down once, you got to get back up twice. You know, so we fell down, we get back up. You know, we're gonna attack the day. So that's what we do out here.
Hey, thanks, Drew. Michael, I got you here, Michael. Michael, you got anything?
Yeah, so this is more for the coaches. So I'm the prep hoops guy. So like how Mike does prep red zone for football, I do the prep hoops. But also I run a high school football show down here in Southeast Ohio. And I was just curious why you guys went more towards the national schedule instead of like staying local, especially after last season. I mean, you guys struggled against public schools like Aurora and Warren G. Harding. Why not schedule teams in Columbus, teams in Southeast Ohio that still have talent, so you guys can save on travel fees, or you could just play talent closer to where you're located that's going to be more competitive games than just going straight for the IMVs and the Duncanville. I just am kind of curious why you haven't tried to play more Central Ohio, Southeast Ohio, Southwest Ohio teams.
Well, and I can appreciate that answer. I mean, that question. The unfortunate part of that is I can't answer that. You would have to ask the Ohio team. The reality is that, you know, to play, because we don't have a big student body, you know how they rank you according to your student body for the most part. Then it will put us in a pretty lower division. So one of the things that's the appeal is the national schedule. So you're right. It would be a lot easier for us to play teams that would play, you know, that we could probably really be different with, to be absolutely honest. The problem is they won't play us.
I mean, you've got, during COVID, like, teams are losing games left or right. Like, you could just play Princeton this Friday. They lost their game. Like, that's a school that, I mean, based on your past results, probably would be a good challenge for you. I mean, they have Division I athletes. Like, that just seems to make more sense than traveling to Kentucky, traveling to Texas.
Right, and it would make more sense if those teams were players. So here's the thing: is when you look at this, you're looking at it and saying in a very logical way. Yeah, so you don't have to travel over the country to play these teams, this and that. The reality of it is we tried to play a lot of those teams. The reality of it is the reason why we were able to play those teams last year is simply because of COVID. So it's, even though it makes perfectly good sense to play those teams have to be willing to play you. And so if those teams won't play you or being told not to play you or anything like that, then that creates the issue. So now, if I can't get teams in Ohio to play, now I got to go outside of Ohio. So yeah, it creates a bigger thing for us because now we have to pay for hotels and flights and all these different things. So it's a little bit different. But if those teams were playing, then yeah, we would play them and sprinkle a couple national games in there. But the reality is for as logical it sounds for us, they choose not to do that, so it's harder for us.
I mean, I know that Columbus City teams are always looking for out-of-conference games. I'm sure they want to host out-of-conference games. I cover a school called Fort Fry. They went to the state semifinal last season. They were looking for a week one game for months and months and months, and then they played reigning Academy, something from Columbus.
Right.
There are schools in Ohio that I'm sure would be willing to play you.
I'm telling you, sir, I'm telling you this. And if you can get somebody on the phone, but the reality of it is those teams won't play. So because regardless of what people, as far as we have some very talented young men. Two of them that you just talked to that either have Division I offers or have a lot of Division I interest. And both of the kids you just talked to. So because of the fear of what we could be, they won't play us. So teams can say that, oh yeah, we'll play them because we beat up on them. The reality is they just won't schedule us. And so I get what you're saying. Like, it makes perfectly good sense. The problem is that they won't schedule us. Believe me, when we're that same OSHA website and the other websites that people post games, we were constantly on that website, sending out emails. And I can send you emails where people say, nope, I ain't saying you, nope. Like, constantly for the past 3-4 years. Wouldn't play us. And so what you're saying makes perfectly good sense. It's just, we'll play them. Just tell them to put it on the schedule.
I just also think you have to understand that people aren't playing you because they're worried you're going to crush them. I mean, you lost to Warren G. Harding and Aurora. Those are public high schools. They're good, but it's not like those schools are winning state titles. Like, people aren't not playing you because they're scared you'll kill them. People aren't playing you because how many fans are you going to bring? What team are you even going to play? How do you even scout against you when nobody knows like what jersey numbers you're going to play? Like, those things you have to fix before.
And I understand that. And every team that we played last year, we sent them a roster. So the thing about that, of course they had numbers.
Okay, because the announcers didn't have numbers.
The announcers had numbers when?
At the ESPN game, the announcer for the Hopen game posted the roster that he got had no numbers on that either.
Yeah, well, we have to take pictures for the ESPN game, so I'm not really sure how they have numbers, but if you say so, I guess. But the reality of it is for whatever reason, they won't play us. So they can say, yeah, but we won't play them because we don't know this, that, and the other. Like I said, we'll post a roster. It doesn't make a difference to us. One of the issues that we have to be mindful of is because there are so many people out there that don't like what we do. Like our kids have gotten, crazy tweets and crazy personal messages and all those different things that, a couple of years ago there was when our kids was staying out of the apartment complex and there were people that were posting death threats and somehow got their phone numbers and was sending them text messages.
Okay.
I know it's not. So that's what I'm saying. That's why when people say something like the health Department of Education, we have our post office box that we have listed there. One of the reasons why we do that is because we get people who make calls constantly to whatever place that we're renting or doing the schooling and constantly calling them. And so then they in turn call us and say, well, why do people call them? Because if we're taking somebody to look at what we're doing the classes are, we take them there. So there will be no need for them to call. So we have to be guarded because from the very inception of this, there's just been a lot of hate and a lot of things where people have tried to attack our kids. And so we have to guard them. I'm not switching the subject. I'm not talking about how your kids have received inappropriate messages that aren't okay. I'm talking about how it seems like to me you guys need to look in the mirror and understand why schools won't play you. I cover high school basketball in Ohio. You know how many schools wanted to play Spire when they had LaMelo Ball, Rocket Watson, and Isaiah Jackson? Every good team in Ohio wanted to play them. Why do you think teams don't want to play you? Well, you need to look in the mirror and fix those things, and then teams will want to play you.
Okay, hold on a second. So, with that same thought, this is Coach Roy, sorry. With that same, because generally I can keep my cool, and I'm going to, but what you're saying isn't exactly accurate. It's why we talk about how the narrative is twisted. You're saying, why don't good teams want to play you? That's not true. We played Cleveland St. Ignatius. We played Cleveland St. Edwards. We played IMG. So good teams do play us. We're saying that when we go talk to the local teams in Columbus, they don't want to play. We want to play them because we don't have to travel as far. They just don't want to. And part of the reason why they don't want to is because by playing us, they don't get points, which is why we joined the league to get them points, but OSHA said it's not acceptable. So when you're asking us, why don't you play? The simple answer to your question is because they don't get points playing us. So when you use teams, for example, like, oh, well, this team played Reigning Academy, Archbishop Hovind did play them and got beat 72-0. So there is opportunities for that in certain schools because we played the most historic, biggest schools in Ohio. We played Massillon. We played Cleveland St. Ignatius. So we want to play local schools if it works out. There's more to it than just why don't you play. It's because those schools might say, hey, we don't get the points and we have a hard enough schedule and we can't get the points here on this schedule. We then can't get you points because we don't accept this NFHS sanctioned league. We then don't want to get you points because guess what? We have kids that fail the grade, repeated, come back, and that goes against the rules of the league that we're in. So you don't think we would just like to sit around and play Pick Central, Dublin, Kaufman, and all these other schools and local and never have to travel? It's just not an option for what we do. So because it's not an option, we have to play other good programs that will play us. St. Ignatius, Cleveland St. Edwards. We got to play IMG, Johnson Central. Different schools that understand where we're at, and we try to keep it there. So Duncanville and some of these other bigger schools. The point is we're trying to make sure that we give them the opportunity to play, and we'll have to play who will play us. It's a two-way street. I can be in love with somebody as much as I want, but if she doesn't want to go out on a date with me, I'm up a creek without a paddle. So we would love to.
I'm just saying, you guys, I mean, you do this, and then you schedule IMG. Are you ready to play IMG? Like, you didn't win a game last year. Are you going to win a game this year with this schedule? Is that smart?
Yes, we will.
So I guess. Well, hold on, guys. Hold on. I guess your point is, and then we're done talking. Do we think it's smart? What we're willing to say is this: we're willing to accept the challenge. We're willing to get down. We're willing to do what we have to do to be a better team. Just like when Citadel plays Alabama. So what we're going to do is we're going to buckle down. We're going to sit down. We're going to take times. We're going to talk about, I know Coach Chris just called and he said, what can I do to help out? He's a heck of a D-line coach. So we're going to I'm going to try to convince him to come in and make us better at D-line. We're going to take your advice. Hey, maybe you should look at playing local teams again. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach out to schools. And if you want to help us, and if it's in, I know you're a busy person, how about you reach out to them too? Like, hey, why don't you guys play them? Hey, Cincinnati Princeton just canceled the game. We know Coach Mike Daniels. It didn't work out before, but he would have played us. But reach out to the local schools. See if the local inner cities schools want to play. But it's not because of lack of us reaching out. It's because the rules line up where they can't. And that's because the type of program that we are. And that's okay. But if you could reach out, to some people that you have contacts with. I think you said you've been working for 8 years. Got 8 years, call them, ask them, like, hey, would you guys be willing to play them? Hey, would you guys be willing to do that? Start working on that. It was just an announcement that went on. And when you say it's smart, It's hard to set up a schedule. An announcement just went on Twitter that since we played IMG, 5 teams have reached out to say, we want to play the team that just lost IMG. So if you're asking me if it's smart, it just got us 5 games. But listen, I appreciate talking to you. Let's take the next one.
I can try to start
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You're up. Go ahead.
Can you? Okay, so my child was a part of Bishop Sycamore's program last season. And this schedule, the whole IMG thing, all of this year, and this whole about the kids and them getting help and the whole school thing, my issue is that Roy and Coach Peterson told these kids one thing, and then when our kids went to this program, it was something completely different. Things that were said were not done, and I'm talking about as far as schooling. I reached out to Roy. I reached out to Coach Peterson about my child personally. I reached out about the clearinghouse. I reached out for assistance as a mother who does not know the things that go on behind the stage or what needs to happen to get these kids D1 or D2. And all my calls fell on deaf ears. Nobody wanted to call me back. Nobody wanted to say anything until then I get on social media or I get on their Instagram page and then I say something and then I get one text message back and then that's it. I was told about a spring program that was supposed to be this year that did not take place. My son was a part of the program that had to leave the apartment last year, and we were told as parents that they had to leave due to non-payment, not due to noise complaints. They got back from IMG last year, and we heard nothing else. And I'm talking about a parent whose kid was in this program directly, myself, who got put on the shelf. Nothing else was said to him, and for him to sit here and say, oh, I care about these kids, we care about them, we love them, I care about each and every one of these kids. Coach Peterson took my son to a 7-on-7, not even maybe 3 or 4 months ago, never heard anything back. Never talked to him, never respond to anything. The reason why a lot of local people don't want to deal with Bishop Sycamore is because of all of this extra BS behind it. There's a lot of local coaches that have dealt with Bishop Sycamore, that has tried to be with this program, that have came on board and been with them one season, and then they're no longer with them due to all of this extra lack of BS. They know it. I know it. It's a lot of local people that do know it, and that's why they choose not to participate with them. I have reached out to Roy. I have reached out to Coach Peterson several times about my child, about another child that I know that goes there, that these kids, my child, I can only speak about. He had issues with his grades. I was presented that this program would help him. I was even told to unenroll my child from high school to enroll in this program. And nothing else has happened.
So
nothing.
So we're not going to say any names because that gets into all types of issues that we don't want to get to. But what we do is we present an opportunity, and we present an opportunity for young men to sign on, do what they need to do, stay in their classes, and do the things that they need to do. So if you didn't have communication from us, that's bad. That's not a good thing. And if that happened to your son, I'm truly sorry.
You're not truly sorry because
let me finish. I let you speak. I let you speak though. But if you're gonna keep, but you're gonna talk over, but you keep talking over me. But you keep talking over me. But you keep. Yeah, but I was taking
address of the school where he's going to be taking classes at. Can I get a transcript of the online class?
1 second, everybody.
Can I get the name of the program? And none of this information was given to me or other parents. When it comes to the education part of it, I was told that there was going to be classes taken at Franklin. We were never able to take classes at Franklin. I was then told that the classes were going to be taken online. He would receive a tutor. He would receive help if he needed the help. I asked for the name of the program. I got his signing information. I asked for his transcripts. I asked for personal assistance as to what are the next steps that we take. Since due to COVID, you said the rest of the season was canceled. Due to COVID, there will be no more spring ball for Bishop Sycamore. So the reach out was, okay, so what is the next step for these children who have already been in your program, who have already participated in your program and listened and did everything that you asked them to do, and nothing was done, and you guys moved on to the next season to get the next group of kids in here to do the same thing to them.
Let me know. So I'm going to take a step back. One, the prior year we were going to go to Franklin University, but because of COVID, we weren't allowed to rent out. They weren't allowed to rent out space. So that answers that. 2, every kid was provided an online service. So the online service that they can provide they have to sign on and get their work done. So they sign on, get their work done. We have people there that can help them and everything else. After that, when the season comes to an end, we're like, hey, we got another spring opportunity. But remember, up until that point, if their grades are a certain thing, we can help them to a certain degree and extent, and then everything else requires them to take the initiative to go and make sure they sign online and don't sign online. So, ma'am, if your son was a part of this program, I'm assuming he had a sign-on information to go online, correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did your son then go online and go to courses like the other kids went on and went to their school classes?
Yes,
because that would be the. So your son went online and did all his work.
And transcripts from that online platform that you stated, transcripts were not available.
Okay. So if he went online, and I'm going to help you. If he went online and he did all his coursework, like the other students that were there that went on to do that coursework, that then went on to play college football, that have the grades now, then there shouldn't be a problem if he went on
it
there.
It wasn't that he didn't have the grades to play college football. He wanted to go. He didn't have the grades to go D1. And as I stated before, when we got back and they played IMG last year, and I specifically asked, what are the next steps for these children? Nothing else was done. Okay. What is the name? How do I get a transcript to show that my son participated in this program, Bishop Sycamore, because now I'm being told by another school that he needs to go, he needs to do the clearinghouse, and this is information that you guys say you help your students with. It fell on deaf ears. I have another student that the same thing happened, another player there, same thing happened. It wasn't like it was just one player. It was multiple players that this happened with. So moving forward, what are you guys doing different as far as the academic part of it is concerned? Because I'm not even talking about on the field. I'm talking about academic. It doesn't matter what they do in the field if they haven't even been cleared from the NCAA clearinghouse to even be recruited somewhere.
Ma'am, then let me answer the question for you, because all you're doing is talking loud and it's not getting the point across. Let me explain how this works. And so every coach that's on here will tell you this, and I'm willing to call the NCAA with you right now. Wherever he went to school from 9th and 10th grade, at the end of his 10th grade year, your school that he went to was supposed to sign him up with the clearinghouse and send in his grades. Then after his junior year, they're supposed to send in his 10 credits. If they fail to do this, the same attitude you have with us is what you should have with them, because now we got to try to fix that. And I don't know your son's grades because I'm not looking at it right now. But unless your son's grades coming out of that sophomore year going into his junior year, which are 2.5, 2.3 or take your knee, if it's anything less than that, most schools put them by the wayside. They then change the rules and allow them to take up to 6 credits. So at that point, if he signed on, and I don't want to give names of other students, but there's names of other students that went on and did their work. Specifically, 3 or 4 students that are with me now that became eligible in college football. The contact information on that is on the actual website that he logs into his classes. Ma'am, I'm telling you now, if he got on if he got on online, if he did all his work, if he got all his grades, then once this conversation's over, you make sure that you have my updated information, send it over. I will log in with you, pull out his transcript, take you to the NCAA and walk through it. But these are all steps that should have happened in the school prior to him coming in.
That's the problem, though. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. But ma'am, we don't understand. But that's my point. Hold on, sweetie. Ma'am, hold on. Ma'am, hold on. You're just yelling in the phone.
I'm not yelling at you. But you're not having it.
But you're not having a conversation because I'm asking you. No, because I'm asking you a question. No, but I'm asking you a question.
All right, everybody got to get muted for a second. Okay, I got to mute everybody for 2 seconds, just because we got too much going on. Let's reel this back in. Tiffany, I understand your frustration. I understand where you're at, but let's keep this conversation to the point. So, Tiffany, I'm gonna allow you to make your point again. What's the point that you want to make here, so we don't have too much back and forth going on? So, Tiffany, you're up.
My point is, moving forward, and anybody that is on this call or out there, when it comes to Bishop Sycamore, my point is, moving forward, and I ask, what are you guys doing differently for these kids off the field? Because that is just as important, if not more important, than is what's going on the field. And I know of 3 kids personally that chose to believe what you guys said, followed your program, and did exactly what you guys said. There was some issues last year with COVID, and I completely understand that. They did not finish the season out, and we were told one thing from Bishop Sycamore, and another thing was completely done, and nothing was done with these kids. at all whatsoever. So what I'm saying is, moving forward, what are you guys doing different than you guys did with the program last year? Because there are several kids that did your program, did what they were supposed to do, and nothing else happened. No contact back, no phone calls, no text or anything, until it was time to play ball again, and Coach Peterson reached out.
So is this opportunity for
let me explain this to you. I didn't reach out to your son about spring ball. I didn't. So the whole thing is that with the way this program is set up, and when you say academically, again, I have to tell you that I was in the program also. And so whether it's my son or other kids that go on and do their work daily and log on, all have grades, all have transcripts. The majority of them have gotten Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 offers, whatever it is. And so if there's an issue, then we can address that. But the difference is we probably need to be more mindful, more watchful. Because the reality of it is that, if we set things up, and here's the thing that I do know. I do know this. I do know that the kids who were assigned classes and were logged on got calls almost daily, if not weekly, from my wife saying, "Hey, you need to sign in. Hey, why aren't you on school? Why aren't you in school? Why aren't you doing your classes?" I know that for a fact. And so if there was an issue, it wasn't because, this is a two-way promise. So if I promise to provide, then you got to promise to receive. And if I provide and place it in front of you, and you don't eat it, then that becomes a problem. It's not that I didn't provide it; it's that you just didn't eat. And so I understand your concern. And I'm not sure who your son is, but if I think I know he is, he's a great young man. But it's a two-way street. And so if there's something that, you're right, that we need to do better, if they're not here, if they're not physically with us because of COVID, whatever the case may be, then we need to call, but they got to answer. Because if I call, or my wife calls, or Roy calls and says, "Hey, look, you're not logging into your classes, what's going on?" and you don't answer the phone, then that's a problem. It's a big problem. So you're right. We have to be more mindful of that. The reality is hopefully things will go well, and COVID will calm down, and we won't have those issues where they won't be in front of us.
I think the second thing that, to answer your question, what do you do moving forward? I think moving forward, one of the things that we need to do is we give a lot of responsibilities for these young men, and we expect them to sign on. We expect them to talk to their we expect them to talk to their tutors online. We expect them to do this. But what we're going to do is take a better initiative, right? So most of them probably in this situation because they didn't have somebody sit over them and make sure that their work was done and everything like that. In your son's case, I think you're saying different because you said that his grades were fine, just not to play D1. So I'm not really sure what that means offhand. So if he wasn't eligible to play D1, then he had to have below a 2.3. So in that case, if he just needed a couple courses or whatever the case may be, like I said, I want to take time to go look at his sign-on, see if he got his work. But you said that he did everything he was supposed to do. So if he got on and he signed on and he took his 4 or 5 classes that were offered and he got all A's, then, ma'am, there is no reason for him not to be playing college football. If he didn't, then that rests on us because guess what? We should have been pushing him more and making sure he's on there. So what I'm saying is what we're going to do to move forward in this is just make sure, take more of an initiative to say, hey, you guys need to make sure you're signing on, you're talking to your advisors, you're talking to your tutors, you're talking to the stuff that we provide you to. Because sometimes we try to give them a look at college. Because as I think everybody knows on this phone, if you go to college, there isn't anybody to make sure you do your work. You have to do it. And
you're absolutely right.
And then what we do in the mornings, like we did before, we always offer study table. Guys come down, and they come and study table. I mean, the guys that I have with me now, they do study table how many times a week? 2 2 or 3 times, so they're there and doing it on time. So they're always there. So these are guys that stay on top of the grades and that's in moving forward. And for the several young men, that you're speaking of, if they signed on, did their work, got all A's, got all B's, got good grades to pull up their GPAs, then there isn't a reason that they shouldn't be playing college football. And we'll go back and revisit that. If they didn't sign up for the NCAA clearinghouse with their original school, where me and you definitely agree, where a lot of these schools don't do that because they don't care. They just want them to show up and play football. We want to make sure we're the opposite of that. So we want to make sure, hey, you sign up with the NCAA. That's one of the things that we put on the little message that we send out. Like, hey, make sure you sign up with the NCAA. If you didn't, make sure you talk to your guys. But one of the problems that we have now is it's so hard to get transcripts from other schools. It takes forever to get them over.
And that's one of the things that you said when we first came to your program. You're absolutely right. And that's not what my issue is. Everything that you said, you're right. I'm talking about execution. I'm talking about when we got back from IMG last season and that season ended, you stated due to COVID, and those boys had to move out of that dorm. There was nothing else from Bishop Sycamore. That's my concern.
Right. And then we need to be better.
What you said was absolutely right. And everything you said, this stuff needs to be signed up. These kids need to do this. These kids need to do that. But what I'm saying is you said all that and you showed us a great opportunity. These boys need to get more film. They would have this many more offers if they come here, if they get this film. I can help you. I know coaches here. Just allow me to take your boy and I can do X, Y, and Z. When they got back from that game, nothing else happened. It was like you guys disappeared off the face of the earth. No more communication, no more anything. And it just left us parents out here wondering what's the next step when we're not taught or don't know what else to do or what's the next steps to take. I don't know about eligibility or what year that the kids can get back due to COVID or if they're eligible and this and that. Those are things that every parent doesn't know those things. And so to reach out to the coaches of this program that we sent our kids to and we entrusted our kids in is very hurtful and it's very disheartening to see your program going forward. And we just don't want to see the same thing happen to the next group of kids that happened to a certain group of kids or a number of kids from last season. I can't speak on this season because he's not there this season. I can only speak on my experience. And my experience was when we got back and those boys got back from IMG, it was like there was no more Bishop Sycamore at all. They moved out of those rooms and that was it.
Okay, so then what we're going to do is take a chance to correct this. And then I want you to follow up, and I'll follow up with you too. If he did everything that he was supposed to do, because remember, it's a two-way street. So if he signed on and did all his work, then there was no reason. There was no reason for coaches not to contact him. There was no reason for coaches not to be there. So the most of the kids that we have is, what do their grades look like? Did they do the work? And if he did his work, then he's going to be okay. In fact, I have a bunch of phone calls, as you know, to get to this, but we'll follow up and we'll correct the wrong, because that's what this platform is about, right? Things that we did wrong. So if he did all his work like he was supposed to, if he signed on and did all his work, there was no reason for him not to go to college. If he wasn't Division I eligible, but could go somewhere else, because I think now they changed the standards for Division II, then we'll get him into Division II, but he has to do the work. So if he did the work, then ma'am, we're at fault. I'm sorry. Let's follow up and we'll see where he's at. But that's just all I can say about that, really. If he did the work, then there's no reason he's not. So let's take a look at his, because his sign-on, for you to request the transcripts, just like we always say, you can sign on, you can go in there, you can look at your transcript, you can look at your grades, you can look at what you did and the work that you did, the sign in and sign off, and then we can go from there. So I appreciate your time. Please send a message to get my updated information, because I don't know what number you have, and then we'll follow up and we'll see. We'll log on together and see where he logged in, where he did his work, and what he has. Because if he did that, he should be okay.
So from there, Tiffany, you have anything else you would like to add?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for commenting. I think your comment was important as well. We do have Coach Jeff here. I believe Coach Jeff is a former coach at IMG Academy. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your question, Coach?
Man, the biggest thing is just obviously, they're trying to do something new, and some things go right, some things go wrong. But my biggest thing is obviously start my own business, training athletes here in Columbus at Greenswood Academy. Just the safety of those kids, man. Obviously, the competition, it is what it is. But having the kids, I trained a couple kids that were with the team on Friday they played against, and I just don't get how you took, 50 kids to play 2 games in 48 hours. I just didn't really make much sense on that end.
What's up, Jeff? Jeff, if you tell the truth, I've always said that Jeff, you're one of the best coaches and trainers out there. So your concern is valid. Like I said, we're all about trying to get that film and counting plays, just like a pitcher does in a game, right? We know how many pitches he can take. We know how many can go out there. So that was our main focus. Right. So you've always been a supporter and helped us out when need be. So I know your concerns come from a genuine point of view.
Sure. Yep, that's all I had to question.
Yes, sir.
So I guess on the Coach Jeff's question is, coaches, I guess, are you guys looking to play more 48-hour game or 72-hour games this season?
No, not at all. But, sometimes a situation comes up where we have kids that have to get filmed. So, we've had kids that need to get filmed. They need to get out there, need to get exposure. We keep the counts up. We know how many, we know how much they're in. We have coaches to monitor that. And, we make sure we get filmed. There's a lot of guys that got filmed and needed film, that got it out there, that got positive responses. So I think if you ask these young men, especially the older ones, like, hey, sometimes we say kids, but these kids are 18 years old. And some of them, if the path went right, guess what? They've been playing in college. So they make these decisions. We always make sure that they're healthy, they're strong. We have them in the right thing. We don't have them playing 45 plays and then playing another 45 plays a couple of days later. So that's what we try to do, and we try to monitor and keep on.
And with that, I got Trill here, who's a player on your team, Trillian Harris, right?
He's back again.
Yeah, so Trill, I do want to ask you something. What is it like playing in those short-term games? You got to play on Friday and then flip around to Sunday. How do you guys feel about it as a team?
Like Coach said, we keep everybody on the pitch count, and it's for film. It's to get everybody prepared. We, as a team, we took it as a live scrimmage. We took it as practice. We took it. Let's go out there and we're not gonna get hurt. Let's play smart. And Coach always telling us, do what you got to do for yourself. If y'all don't feel like y'all can't play, then sit out. If y'all feel like y'all can go, y'all can go. And then we know as a team we good and we gonna do what we got to do.
Thank you for that. I'm going to take a couple more questions here. We've been going 3 hours strong, so this has been very, I don't know. You take it how you want to. I got a couple more people here with a couple questions, so let's go ahead and get to it. Coach Anderson here. Coach, are you there? Coach Anderson? I think you might be mute. All right, there you go, Coach. What's your question for the guys here at Bishop Sycamore?
It's not really a question. I know Coach RJ, we're playing them later on in the year. I think with every new program, you're trying to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I think what he's doing for those kids is, he's doing a great thing. And when it comes to this, when you're at a prep school and you're recruiting kids from all across the country, we can't do it all by ourselves. Like, we need the help of parents as well. And like he said, there's no guarantees. This exposure thing is a double-edged sword, right? You're bringing kids from across the country to come play for you, to play in these big-time games, and you let them know. They can either show you exactly where you deserve to be, or, you can sink or you can swim or you can drown in these type of things. But everybody knows what they're getting into before they get there. So, I just want to say, Coach RJ, keep up the good work. Obviously, things went a little bit wrong, but at the end of the day, all of those guys' hearts are in the right place, and they're trying to help, kids that don't always get a fair shot, especially with this COVID thing, keep going. You know what I mean? So I applaud you and can't wait to play you on 10-8, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to go ahead. Thank you guys from Bishop Sycamore for taking all these questions. I'm going to take two more. Coach George.
Wait.
Did you say 2 more?
I had 2 people that was sitting and waiting for a long time. We had some long questions and some long answers, and I want to make the guys get their chance because they waited. So, Coach George, go ahead.
Hey, coaches, how you guys doing, man?
Hey, Coach Howard, how you doing, man? Take it easy on me.
Hey, I'm not going to hurt you. Hey, listen, I mean, this has been a tough situation for you, I know, because of everyone coming at you and listening to, the young lady that came on and listening to some of the other people. But, hey, I kind of applaud what you guys are doing for the young men and being that you don't have a lot of the backing that a lot of the other schools do have. I guess the biggest question that people want to know, are the kids getting a good education? One, because that's very important, first and foremost. And then are the kids getting placed in school? Two, and the last question, are they safe? Are they in a good environment? Are the living quarters good? And are they taken care of? Those are the 3 questions I think that most people would want to know. And if you could answer those questions, I appreciate it.
So I'm gonna start with living, food, and then not for me, but just ask the player what his situation is. I'm actually using this thing and let him explain his experience on food, what he eats, how it is, and then we'll go from there.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, so as far as food, we eat about 3 times a day. Great big meals. I mean, like every morning is waffles, to bacon, eggs, whatever you want. You just pick your choice. There's never a shortage on food or anything like that. Where all the players are always comfortable, always fed. As far as everything of that nature, all is well. There's no complaints on my side or anybody's side, as far as I'm concerned. Honestly,
the education part is where I'm going to chime into safety and education. They're safe. We haven't had any violence issues or anything like that. But as far as the education is, are they getting a good education? And that's the part of it that I think we all want to enter into and have this conversation. They have the ability to take NCAA accredited courses. They have the ability to do this with a personal tutor and a guidance counselor to help them out along the way. Along with that, they're able to speak to people about social issues, counseling, and therapy. I think they're getting a good education because the education that we provide allows them to play college football, allows them to play college sports. But there's a discrepancy in education, Coach, and you know that as well as I do. And I don't want to get into it too much, but the education that I get at one school is going to be different than another.
Yeah.
So we like to say that our education qualifies them to take these courses and then take that to the NCAA and the NCAA accredited courses. So that's the best way I can answer that. As far as our non-traditional education, I would put that up against anybody in the country.
I guess the biggest thing is if they're getting the credits that's needed.
Correct.
To qualify.
Yes, sir,
that's
they
the
do.
biggest thing.
Yeah, yes, sir, they do that. And then the second thing that they, like I said, the non-traditional education part of it, there's not a single player on the team that doesn't understand branding, LLCs, EINs, and that part of business, as you know, that they're going to need moving forward. So that's the part of education. You can always call the NCAA, see the courses that we use, see the programs that we use, and know that they're NCAA certified, sir.
And do you have like coaches that live with the boys that live with them so they just can't go crazy and do what they want to do?
Some of them stay at my house. We also have places where they're monitored, and it's just like college. I mean, the college coaches don't stay with you in the dorms, but they do come by and check in on you. So we have people checking in on them all day long. And then the ones that are minors live directly with me, sir.
Okay. Hey, man, I just want to say, you guys, there's going to be flaws. There's going to be hiccups along the way with what you guys are trying to do. I know there's been other prep schools that have tried to get started that weren't able to get started. So, hey, just keep striving to do the best that you can do, and and continue to look out for these kids, man. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. you can't please everybody. You're always going to have disgruntled people that aren't going to go along with everything that you're doing. But, just keep striving to do what you guys are doing, man. And I wish you guys good luck and along the way.
Coach, just so they know, I always appreciate your support. Like, there's the way you deliver the message to us has been great since day one. And so we appreciate you always giving us advice, and we appreciate you being stern with us when you have to, and we appreciate your support, sir.
That's okay, man. That's okay. Just keep doing what you're doing, and don't let the outside, stop you from doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you, sir.
All righty.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. The last speaker we'll have here tonight will be Anthony Garcia from Prep Red Zone. He's the editor.
I appreciate you, Mike. Hey, coaches, I appreciate you guys taking my call. I think, the spirit of, the conversation today has been, you guys taking accountability for some missteps.
Yes, sir.
Admitting where you're wrong and trying to get better. And I think that's, a very admirable thing to be doing today. And trying to go forward. So with that said, I am curious, I've heard throughout the conversation, you guys tell people, from their concerns that you're going to, work to get better at, X, Y, and Z. You're going to follow up with some people, things of that nature. I am curious, are you guys, with that said, as we wrap up the call, are you guys going to, are you recording these things? Or do you guys have a list of to-dos? I've just heard you guys say that you're going to get better in 10, 15 areas, whatever it is, over the last couple hours. Do you guys have a list of those things that you're going to do, when it comes to that execution, once, it's time to stop talking?
Well, let's see. Well, that's a good question to ask us, right? Because that puts the rubber to the rubber. But I think the first thing we're going to do is take a step back and work on our communication. So we're going to come up with some ideas in a meeting that we have later today on how we can keep the lines of communication open. I think what we've done is communicated with the current students, communicated with the parents, but we kind of leave a lot of that responsibility to them. Sign your kid up for the Ncaa, let us know. Sign him up for here, let us know. Get his transcript, let us know. What we need to do is take a better stance on that as far as, hey, let's sit down with you, and guess what? Like the young lady said, let's show you how to talk to the Ncaa. Let's show you how to go in and try to get a waiver. Let's show you what this means. Let's show you the information that you need to get, how you contact your school, make sure that the guidance counselor, before they get their thing over to the Ncaa. I think that's one of the things that we need to focus on. A second thing that we need to talk about is our presence in the community. I know a young man has said, we want to make sure that the presence in the community. So we need to make a better effort having a presence in the community and working with other schools, explaining what we do. So maybe they have a student or a player that they need to send over or we could work with. So we want to make sure we do that. We want to retake a look at the schedule and see if we can play some more community schools, more local schools. I mean, the guy that was on the phone said, hey, you guys can play more local schools. Okay, well, if we can play more local schools, let's go back and revisit that. Let's go back and stop playing the Cleveland Stadium Nations and St. Edwards and see if we can play the Pick Centrals, Pick North, play Reynoldsburg, and go back and talk to those coaches and see if they can do that. I think our general overall changing our image too. We want to make sure that we stay on calls like this. We get into the media. We explain what we do. We want to talk about that. We also want to be a little bit more deliberate on our website. So instead of just having a put-together website for football because we had one thrown up or had somebody help, let's go and actually sit down and have a fully functional website that explains all the things that we do, why we do it, who's here, and things like that. We also want to take a chance to put out a roster. Hey, these are post-grad guys. These are full guys here. Here's our guys that are on our varsity team or our national team. This way, the media and people can find out who's on our team, and if they do want to support, they can support. And just overall making sure that we stay in the community and active. And I think, like you said, it's time for people to come on, and people have to be concerned and worried because it's 3.5 hours, 4.5 hours. So those are the things that I got from the conversation. Those are the things that I put down that I think we need to target right away. And just the fact that we have that together means that, hey, we're taking this seriously just like you guys are. So these are the things that we're going to focus on. It's going to take a little bit of time to focus on that, but we're going to reach out. We're going to make sure we do that. We're going to start right away. And I think those are the things that I got from the conversation. Those are things that I took notes on.
Thank you there, Anthony, for the question, and thank you guys for that question. I guess we'll wrap up here with a couple things here that I kind of came up with. It looks like the first thing that, and I'm nobody to say anything, but looks like the first thing you guys need to do is definitely, make sure you take care of your people. It sounds like, there's a lot of disgruntled, former parents of this program, you know, and there's a lot of people in the community that feel a certain way about this program. You know, I think Coach Peterson, as the head of the school, you know, that's going to be a big thing going forward, you know, especially on this 3-hour call, you know, 3-hour plus call. You had a lot of people, you know, disgruntled from former players and stars. And it sounds like the current players are happy with the situation, so it sounds like you guys are doing better. I just want to know, what is the first thing you're going to do, Coach Peterson, to get this thing going? I don't know if Coach is here, so I guess, Trav, you got to answer that.
So I think the first thing,
Head coach Roy, I'm sorry.
I think the first thing that we need to do is that there's a very, and I don't want to get too heavy into hip hop, but one of my favorite artists, Ghostface Killer, said, if you forget about the past, you're never going to get to where you're going. So the disgruntled students, I want to be clear, we're going to follow up with. And we're going to take accountability. But I want to stress this, and I'm going to stress this to parents and everybody else. If they're not doing the work, it's hard for us to help them. If they did the work and they did everything they were supposed to do, then we can help them. But if they didn't sign on, if they didn't do their work, if they didn't do all their homework, they didn't log in, they didn't do the things that they were supposed to do, we're going to still continue to help them by probably placing them in a JUCO or whatever school we have to do. But it's hard for us to work with you if you didn't do the work. So I guess the first thing that we need to do is take care of the disgruntled parents. Take care of the disgruntled students as best to our ability. But then use those as stepping stones to move forward. The very second thing that we need to do is make sure that the people that are here now, that we're answering all their questions, they have any problems. And they're happy and they're going to defend it because they're a brotherhood. So sometimes your big brother can be wrong and you're still going to defend him. But we need to make sure that we sit down with them and we follow up with them and make sure we follow up with the schools and the colleges that are there. The very next step after that is we're going to release the roster. So when I go through the names that you know and I know and I go through them, the Nayborns, the Scotts, and everything else, even the Fitz. And when you go through all that, like, yeah, well, these guys all have listed, you know, D1 offers and that, then we got to be proud of that. And then, believe it or not, we spent the entire day on this phone call. We got to get ready for Friday. Because at the end of the day, we're a football team, and we got to turn this thing around. And that requires us to go to practice, meet together, and do things like that. So I think those are the first initial steps for all our short-term problems. And then for our long-term problems or long-term things that people are telling us about that, we need to start working on that. So we're going to get working on that right away. And like I said, not to sound too much like Tim Tebow, but you're never going to see a program work as hard as we're going to work over the next 9 weeks. I promise you that. And we owe that to the kids in our community. We owe that to the guys that are on our team. And we owe it for all the guys who sacrificed to put us in this situation.
Well, appreciate that, Coach. And I forgot one last person that you spoke with before you got off was Ohio Varsity, and I left him there on hold. Mr. Varsity, Ohio Varsity, are you there? No? Okay, so no, we don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I'm here, but I was done. I was just listening.
Okay, and you were the biggest. You know, I felt like in this conversation, you the one that kind of stirred things in a way where it went. Is this what you were looking to hear from this program, or what?
No, they talked in circular motion, and they're con men, trying to convince people they're doing the right thing. And while I said their mission is admirable, but you're running a school that isn't a school. You're partnered with a charter school company, which I have no issue with, but you're parading around as a school. The school director isn't a school administrator. They've talked about accountability, but there is none. They are the accountability. They're the administrators. There's nobody else to call to say, hey, something isn't right here. This program is amiss. And then for the coach to say, the great thing about playing IMG is he's got 5 more games now, and they're trying to say that they've got the best interest of the students in mind? Come on. That's just ridiculous. A ridiculous comment.
Well, hopefully over the next couple of weeks or over the next month of the life of this program, we get an opportunity to go out there and change your opinion. And that's the beautiful thing about life. I guess I should say the beautiful thing about life in the United States. There's always an opportunity to straighten things out. There's always an opportunity for a second chance. And hopefully one day, sir, we can win you over where you said, hey, I remember getting on the phone, or excuse me, on this Twitter and talking to these guys, and I thought whatever I thought, but they really turned this program around. And there's a good example of what it is to be an American and have an opportunity and a second chance.
It's not about football. I don't care that you got beat by IMG. I don't care that it was 58 to that doesn't matter to me. You're using football as a tool, which is great. If that inspires kids to get into the classroom and take care of their education, you've succeeded. Correct. But what you've lost sight of is you're not focused on the education aspect of it. You're focused on the football aspect. That's why you started recruiting nationally. That's why you played this ambitious schedule. It's not about the kids and their education. And if you start from an honest point, you would understand that.
Right. So, again, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and giving us some constructive criticism. And then hopefully on signing day, when we sign however many students, you'll know that, hey, they had to care about education because they signed so many students to go to college. And that's what this is all about. So, the guys that worked hard before, that stuck with the program, and they're going to college, man, kudos to them. Kudos for people like you that are concerned about education in the community. And again, we're going to try really hard, and I promise you, we're going to work as hard as we can on and off the field. And you're going to be proud of us on and off the field.
And with that, I appreciate everybody that took part in this. And I feel like this is something that we might have to do again. Coach, would you be willing to do this in a couple of weeks?
A couple of weeks? You expect me to recover from this in a couple of weeks?
and I think people are hoping that you do recover from this quickly because, you got a lot of people concerned about your program in a good way and concerned about the kids. And I think it'd be important to have a follow-up, just to let them know, hey, we got rosters out, we got a website up, and that you follow through on some of these things. Because I think some points are valid, and I think progress needs to be shown.
Absolutely, and we're always excited to do that. Like I said, our doors are always open, and I know a lot of the players are listening right now. So I just want them to know that we love them, and we'll be back at it, no problem.
I want to thank everybody for taking the time here today. If you haven't followed me yet, make sure you follow me. We'll continue this conversation in Twitter and forums. So find my page, keep the conversation going. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, Bishop Sycamore, for taking 3 hours out of your afternoon to have this conversation with us. I'm Coach Mike Robinson, and thank you guys. Have a